Hello there, hello there, hello there, hello there. Welcome back to the Agostino Zinga Show with I, your host, Agostino Zinga, and this is episode number 892, Ocho Nueve Dos with I, your host, Agostino Zinga. How you doing? How you feeling? Great, amazing, good to hear. How am I? All good, all things considered. I cannot complain. Gonna record a quick little podcast today, then gonna do a little Patreon stuff, then heading over to the gym. So I'm feeling mighty fine. I'm looking mighty good. And then when I get back from the gym, obviously got a bit of a random show to get into at the end of the day. But I'm feeling good. I'm feeling fine. I cannot complain. I really cannot complain. I'm feeling way better too, because as you can notice, if you're watching this particular podcast via YouTube, if you're listening via the audio part, what are you doing? Make sure you jump over to YouTube and watch that on YouTube too and hear it in the background, right? Help me out with the algorithm. But if you're watching this from YouTube, you shall see there's some natural light coming in that's also showing up my flag, which I need to steam actually. I need to steam my flag because there's so much light coming in that now you're picking up way more of the creases on my flag. That's how nice it is outside. It's so nice. It's showing up that I haven't ironed my flag in a long time. So I need to iron or steam my flag soon because the sun is out. I'm feeling good. I'm really happy for once because the sun is out. How weird is that, by the way? Huh? How weird is it that the sun affects us this much? Huh? How strange. How strange is it that when the weather improves, suddenly our mood improves? Like, I, for the longest time, been saying, and I'll always say, that England, in general, is the home of bad vibes, in my personal opinion. But I've always wondered, how much better would it be to live in England? How much better would it be to live in a city like London, one of the most expensive cities in the world, if the weather was a little bit better? If we had, which I've always said, I think this country is in need of at least 4 months of sun. 4 months. Because we don't get proper summers. Like, we get weird summers where, like, it starts, right? You might get like a good week. Then 2 days is crappy. Then you might get 2 days. Then 3 days is good. You know, it's always stop, start, which is why most people who live in this country, especially if you live up north, because the weather's usually a bit worse up there. If you live in a country anywhere, you will know the phenomenon of always going out with your jacket. People up north are built different than people down in the south. We're really soft. Us southerners are really soft. My fellow brothers and sisters up north, they're a little bit more raggo and hard, and they can go out all day with just their shirt on and no jacket, and they'll just firm it, right? And it's a good decision because you save money on the fucking cloakroom, you save time queuing up at the cloakroom, and you also don't have to worry about another thing that you might lose. And we've all been there, right? I'm a jacket guy, but the amount of jackets I've lost in my lifetime, I don't want to think about. The amount of jackets I've lost in my lifetime, I don't want to think about. You know, Balenciaga stuff, like Supremes, like, just, it breaks my heart. Neighborhood jackets, double tap jackets, like, oh, Supreme jackets, oh, bathing ape jackets, oh, we've lost many. So if you can go out without no jacket, you're fine. But if you're like me and you're southerner and you're a little bit soft, you need to have a jacket. But that's always crap. So I feel like if we had 4 months, a minimum of 4, maybe 6 months every year of like good weather, everybody's mood would improve. You wouldn't care too much that the oyster. You wouldn't care too much that a single journey in the oyster is like nearly £5. You wouldn't care too much that, you know, to go out on a night out with your friends, you're already spending 100 quid, even without drugs. You wouldn't care too much that every meal in London is basically £50 per head, no matter where you go. You wouldn't care too much about the housing, the lack of housing and stuff. You wouldn't care too much about whatever council housing that you do get is dilapidated. You wouldn't care too much about the exorbitant rent. You wouldn't care too much about the shitty NHS. You wouldn't honestly care about a lot of things in this country if the weather was just marginally better. If we had more days like it is out there today, where it was like that for 4 months. Let me be conservative. Let me be a little bit fair. Let me pull that back a bit. Let me walk that back a bit. Give us 2 months. 2 months of like decent weather. That's 60 days approximately of just back to back hot. So I don't have to go out with a jacket. Like today I popped out, I did a little cycle around my area, get some fucking oxygen in my lungs, and it was fucking lovely to go out in just a t-shirt and some fucking shorts. with no fucking socks. I raw dog my Vans like fucking Ashton Hall. Big up Ashton Hall, more on him later, right? I raw dog my Vans. No fucking undershirt, no anything, no jacket, no hoodie, just t-shirt and shorts, right? And I had a fucking blast cycling around my fucking ends. Why can't we have that more? It would generally improve the atmosphere, the feeling, just the vibe of this country exponentially. But we don't. So here we are. So today's show is jam-packed. I've got so many things to talk to you about. So many things. So wherever you may be, whatever you may be doing right now, grab yourself a drink, relax, chill. I've got a couple over there that I'm gonna get, across the fucking couple of hours that we'll be together, and we're gonna go through some very entertaining cultural commentary content from the #1 cultural commentary show in the world, bar none. Don't accept any imitations. You know, there's some shows out there that do a madness, whatever. I'm here. Cultural commentary #1. You get it? All right, cool. You get it? Cool. Let's move on. Yo, big up Stephen A. Smith. Big up Stephen A. Smith for giving all of us professional haters like myself a bad name. Stephen A. Smith is giving all of us professional haters, aspiring haters, blue collar haters. Shout out to DSP, fuck DSP, white collar haters. He's giving us all a bad name. Why do I say that? Stephen A. Smith got involved in a little bit of a passer, right, with LeBron James, which I thought was a bit blown out of proportion, but I also understood both sides. To give you a brief synopsis of it, Stephen A. Smith has been very critical of LeBron James and the introduction of LeBron James' son, Bronny James, to the NBA. Like most people, you know, he thinks it's rooted in nepotism. He thinks it's not earned, it's not warranted, it's not whatever, right? We've all got the same opinion about Bronny James. But some of us, myself included, I kind of want to see him win. I don't know anything about basketball. I don't know a single thing about basketball apart from people shooting the thing into the hoops, into the net, sorry. I don't know anything about the rules, nothing. But I've watched a ton of content online. I've read a bunch of media reports, a bunch of op-eds, a bunch of articles, listened to a bunch of former professionals on podcasts, and they're all saying the same thing. That Bronny James kid probably isn't good enough for the NBA, but he's got there because of his dad, right? And I think that's been the general criticism about Bronny. I don't think anyone else has said anything else crazy. But I guess for whatever reason, I haven't heard it myself personally, but I guess there has been some clips out there where Stephen A. Smith has said stuff about Bronny and about LeBron that LeBron feels like it's too personal. Now, I don't know if that's true, personally for me. I'm going to call cap on that. Because I think everything I've seen across the board has been the conversation about nepotism and the conversation just in general about him not being good. I haven't seen anybody say anything crazy about Bronny in terms of like insulting him, because he's not even that kind of kid. He comes across really like well-mannered. It looks like he's been raised right. He's not all rah-rah. Like he's really chill. Maybe that's probably part of his fault. That's maybe a bad thing that he has. He's way too chill. Maybe if he's a little bit more, out there and aggro and really on the front foot and kind of a bit shithousery and a bit of a wind-up merchant and kind of backed his, and tried a lot of shit, but backed it up with his talent. Maybe people will lay off of him a bit. Maybe, I don't know. Who knows? Either way, LeBron James hasn't liked what Stephen A. Smith has said about his son, Bronny, and he think he went too personal. During one particular LA Lakers game, LeBron James was playing, and I think this was mid-game, and they had a break or something. He sees Stephen A. Smith, he goes over to him, and essentially from what it looks like to me, we can't hear what they say, but it looks like LeBron James checked Stephen A. Smith about his comments regarding his son. Now, at the time it happened, I thought it was a little bit lame of LeBron James. I'm not going to lie. I thought it was a bit lame. Like, everyone says something about your son. Everyone has something to say about your son playing for the Lakers. Everybody has something to say about whether or not he's good enough to play for the league or not. And then you go and like step 2 and check the black man. He's the only one you check. I don't like that sort of stuff. If you're going to do the whole like check-in and, putting people on notice and all this sort of nonsense, right? All this aggro like man stuff, do it to everybody. Don't just do it to the black guy because he looks like you and it's not going to look as bad and you won't get as bad with flack. Because if he did that to a white dude, not Skip Bayless, but if he does it to another journalist, people are going to go crazy. But you can kind of get away with that with black people. I think so in general. It's a little bit unfair how it is, but I guess it is what it is. Well, it then comes out that he didn't like attack him. It was more so him kind of being upset that Stephen A. Smith said something about his son, which I still don't think was cool. But regardless, I rated LeBron James for going to the guy and talking to him face to face. He could have made a video online. Nah, he saw him and he saw red and he went and he said something and he left it as that. Stephen A. Smith, after the fact, I thought kind of made himself look a bit dumb, look a bit like, you know, PUSSY, because he was going around talking a lot and essentially trying to make it seem like he was a victim. Like at first he was like, it's almost like he was about to cry because somebody he looked up to said something really bad to him or didn't like him. It was weird. Like, cause usually you're used to Stephen A. Smith, like, you know, doubling, tripling down, talking with his full chest. And he was really meek, really somber, really down in the dumps about LeBron James stepping to him in the match. Well, it seems like that has got back to LeBron, and LeBron, which is very rare. I don't think I've seen him on many pods outside of his own barbershop thing. He kind of keeps himself to himself. But I kind of like this. I'm not going to lie. I kind of like this because he's clearly an intelligent dude, clearly knows the game very well, clearly sees everything, but just doesn't comment on it. So it's good to see him on these type of platforms. So he jumped on the Pat McAfee show and decided to basically address what happened, didn't it? Post him stepping Stephen A. Smith. And I thought he spoke really well about the whole issue. And if anything, he maybe reignited that beef again, inadvertently. He reignited the beef again, but he just couldn't resist to get some, you know, a little couple blows in. So here's LeBron James speaking about Stephen A. Smith on the Pat McAfee show. That's such a good line. He's on the Taylor Swift tour run. That is, you know what, like I know it doesn't happen too often because I think athletes and celebrities in general, they feel like they are lowering themselves by talking or responding back to critics or talk online. But I think when you're like a high level athlete like LeBron, I think sometimes lowering yourself and talking to people, your haters, your critics directly, it's kind of hard. I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of fucking hard because the moment you say something, it's automatically it's obvious. Like it's obvious to everybody who is hot, who is the one above, who is the one below. You know what I mean? You automatically like assert your dominance. It's really hard to come away from this, even if you're a fan of Stephen A. Smith, thinking that he looks good. You know, it kind of makes him look a bit wild, and there's nothing you could do to really clap back at him. You know. You have to just take it. You have to just take it. Obviously, Stephen A. Smith doesn't take it, but I thought that line was fucking incredible because it is true. He has gone on a bit of a tour, and he's kind of, I don't know what he's trying to do, Stephen A. Smith, when it happened. It was like, just take the L. You know what I mean? You said something about him. He stepped to you. The optics of what he did looked way worse than what Stephen A. Smith did to his son. I know, but just take the L. It's not a big deal. And now he's made it worse. LeBron continues. Oh, you can't hear it. You can't hear it. You can't hear it. Damn. Damn. Let's start again. I thought you could hear it. Let's start again.
Yep. Which leads obviously to you and Stephen A. Hey, legit, that feels like a moment that had been brewing for a long time.
He's like on a Taylor Swift tour run right now.
Oh yeah, yeah, we're watching. You're seeing it as well.
He literally, it started off with, I didn't want to address it.
Yeah, sure.
I didn't want to address it. I wasn't going to address it. But since the video came out,
exactly.
You will be not to talk about it.
Are you kidding me? If there's one person that couldn't wait to the video to drop so you can address it, it's your ass. Like, seriously.
Exactly. And it's a line that everyone says, isn't it? Right? You know how I be. You know what time I'm really on. It's like, we don't know you. The first time we've seen you on my timeline is right now. You know? You know how I get down? I have no idea how you get down. I don't even know if you can squat down, let alone kneel down, let alone bend down. I have no idea, you know? You know how I be like, I don't really like addressing this sort of stuff. Yes, you do. Your whole feed is full of clapbacks. What are you talking about?
Seriously, it's, and like another, he completely like missed the whole point. The whole point. Never would I ever not allow people to talk about the sport, criticize players about what they do on the court. That is your job, to criticize or to, be in a position where, okay, if a guy's not performing, that is all part of the game. That's all part of the game. But when you take it and you get personal with it, it's my job to not only protect my damn household, but protect the players. You know, and
I don't believe that's true. I can't think of, has there been any instance where LeBron James has attacked or gone after a journalist when they've spoken about a player he played with on the Cavs or the Miami Heat or at the Lakers? I can't think of many. When they got personal. Does he do that? Does he go and check reporters if they get personal about his teammates? This is obviously to do with his son. And I also don't like the fact that he never says what the personal thing is. What was it? Because again, I don't follow Stephen A. Smith religiously, but I do know our Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless. Stephen A. Smith is more of a LeBron lover than Skip is. So if Skip got personal, I can believe that. But I don't believe that Stephen A. Smith ever got personal. I believe it was always like about, you know, being a journalist, being a pundit, being a fucking whatever, and kind of criticizing the player and what he's doing on the court, and maybe his inclusion or whatever, the special exemptions being given, the circus around it, the influence that maybe LeBron James has on the league, maybe too much of it, blah, 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 whatever. But I don't really remember the personal thing that was said. So if something was said, just say it. But when you say personal thing, everyone automatically kind of is like, oh yeah, true, I get it. Everyone kind of holds their hands up. Yeah, fair. But you don't really say what the personal thing is. That's why I don't like it. It's a little bit manipulative. It's a little bit clever, a little bit cheeky. Little bit cheeky to not say it and then say it's personal and everyone thinks it's some big thing, but you don't really say what happened. But big up LeBron anyway.
I think a lot of the media, including him, and I know he's gonna be happy as hell. He's gonna smile from ear to ear when he hears me talking about him again. Oh my God, he's gonna get home and grab some ice cream out of the fucking freezer and sit in his chair in his tighty whities on the couch.
I hope at some point you two do get a chance.
Like,
but you're right.
Dude, like relax, bro. Like relax. Like seriously.
By the way, it's definitely beef because when Pat McAfee said, "Hey man, I really do hope you guys will get to," he's like, he doesn't say nothing. He doesn't say, "No, we're not gonna be friends." But fuck that guy. So I guess it's fuck Stephen A. Smith forever. I don't think they ever will be friends. Maybe there might be a point later on in a time when the LeBron James Netflix documentary comes out and he's old and grey. We might see a weathered, you know, Stephen A. Smith there giving his commentary. But it looks like from now on, they're not going to be friends. Anyway, Stephen A. Smith obviously saw this. And Stephen A. Smith did the worst possible reply ever. Because I guess he felt sensitive and personally offended by what LeBron James said. And instead of addressing what he said, he tried to go on some like man thing, right? On some like machismo, alpha male, mask. I don't know what he was trying to do here, but this wasn't the reply you need to say to to LeBron James. Not after he went to the studio to record with Pat McAfee, and he clearly looks like a fucking alien. Like him sat around regular sized people, you see how freakishly big he is. And I think he mentions in an interview that he's 6'9" and fluctuates between 215 pounds and 260 or 70 pounds. 6'9", can jump, backflip, like whatever, all this nonsense. Like he's like his physique is insane. So Stephen A. Smith getting on his show and saying this after LeBron James said what he said, and we saw his fucking frame amongst regular schmegular people is wild.
That man put his hands on me, I would have immediately swung on him. Immediately. That man put his hands on me, I would have immediately swung on him. Immediately. That man put...
Yeah, okay, that's what he said, right? And then I love... Let's get LeBron James's reply. I love LeBron James's reply on Instagram. Hopefully he's still up there. Hopefully he still has it up there. But LeBron James's reply on Instagram legitimately filled me with so much joy. I love when my athletes get a little bit petty. I love it when they come down in the mud, in the muck, in the fucking sewers where we are, and they kind of play, you know, they kind of play and remind us all who's a real boss, who's a real dango again. And this is the reply that LeBron James had on his feed, directly aimed at Stephen A. Smith when he said he would have swung on him, right? Look at this reply from LeBron James. What a freaking legend. What a freaking legend. I would have swung on him. Look at this reply from LeBron James. Womp, womp, womp.
Yeah, make it more fruit. Yeah, push. Clean up that cup more. Raise them up. Yeah, make it more fruit. Yeah, push.
LeBron ain't scared about nothing. Next slide. All right. Hey yo, R.I.P. Young Dolph, R.I.P. Young Dolph. But honestly, man, please, for the love of God, Stephen A. Smith, like, there needs to come to a point where, as a professional hater myself, you have to accept that when people have every right to clap back. And sometimes the clapback is usually, I think in some respects, especially the person who's been quiet, they don't usually speak, can sometimes hurt way more than what you had to say. And sometimes you have to just take that on the chin. You just have to take that on the chin. It's okay. If you have, like, Stephen A. Smith has had, like, however many years, 22 decades or whatever it may be, right, of criticizing, saying some maybe snarky things about LeBron James. I don't think LeBron James was ever directly replied to him in any kind of way, except for this time. Then he finally does say something, and you kind of throw your toys out of the pram. You get all emotional, you start crying, you start saying you're gonna fight him, you start talking about racism and all this stuff and blah, blah, blah. It's like, bruh. I like you, Stephen A. Smith, but you just have to take you on the chin. You said what you have to say about LeBron and Bronny James. Most of us, myself included, agree with you. He clapped back. That's okay. That's okay. Even if he is embellishing the truth and lying a little bit. That's the power he has because he's who he is. And he hasn't replied for a while. So when you don't reply, then you finally do reply, your impact hits a bit harder because we get to hear, Stephen A. Smith like shouting from his point of view all the fucking time. But we rarely get to hear from LeBron James. So the fact that he did reply was pretty good. Personally speaking and selfishly speaking, I would love to see more of that from LeBron or more of that from athletes in general, especially in football in the UK. I feel like in general, let's say across the board, when it comes to football, the players don't really talk that much. They let a lot of stuff slide in the media. Maybe some of it is true, but they let a lot of stuff slide in the media. A lot of narratives run on social media. They could easily just lock it all off, but they don't. And I wish they would say something. You know what I mean? Fire back. But I guess if you say something, you add more fuel to the fire. If you say the wrong thing, you maybe open up another fucking rabbit hole. Another fucking narrative gets run that you weren't even, conclusive of when you said what you said. So I can see the issues and why they kind of are hesitant to do it. But it is quite nice when athletes or professionals at that level lower themselves down to responding to stuff they saw on the internet. I think it's fucking hilarious, honestly. I think it's fucking hilarious. But LeBron is full of shit though. LeBron is full of shit. He only did that to Stephen A. Smith because Stephen A. Smith spoke about his kid. He's not some Superman that goes around protecting all of his players, all of his fellow teammates, whenever a media person says something to them about them personally. I don't think so. I don't think that's the case. I think he's full of shit a little bit, but that's perfectly okay. That's perfectly okay because guess what? We're all full of shit. We're all full of shit. Talking about being full of shit, big up OpenAI. I guess DeepSeek, that Chinese AI platform, put a lot of pressure on OpenAI, and I think if anything, what DeepSeek did, in my personal opinion, was that they exposed some of the money that gets wasted in venture capital, or some of the money that gets wasted with startups in general and in tech. I feel like a lot of these tech companies, a lot of these startups, basically the raising of finances and funds or whatever investment rounds, it's more so a way to flex about your growth and to maybe signify that you're going in the right direction. But very rarely is the money that's raised ever used to do useful things or to actually push the product or the service further. It's just about optics. So it's good that DeepSeek were able to launch that AI model that they launched with however many millions. I think it was like a couple of million only, maybe let's say under 10 million compared to what OpenAI has been raising over the years. And it works completely fine. It's of the level of, AIs like Grok and shit. And I think that kind of exposed OpenAI's, system and what they basically do. So I think they've had to really go back to the drawing board and really try and kind of justify the money that's been raised, the amount of people that they've hired, the amount of people that they've fired for all the money that they've been able to raise through various investment runs. They had to do that, which is why they launched this really fucking cool feature, this really freaking cool feature called image generation. It's only available now at the moment on the paid tier of OpenAI. So if you got the free version that we all have via our browser, you won't be able to use it just yet, but it's pretty fucking cool. So this is courtesy of OpenAI's blog. It says introducing 4.0 or 4.0 image generation. Sorry, at OpenAI, we have long believed that image generation should be a primary capability of our language models. That's why we've built our most advanced image generator yet into our GPT 4.0 or 4.0. The result of image generation is that it's not only beautiful but useful. So this is the prompt that somebody did for the image. The prompt is taken as follows: a wide image taken with a phone on a glass whiteboard in a room overlooking the Bay Ridge. The field of view shows a woman writing, sporting a t-shirt with a large OpenAI logo. The handwriting looks natural and a bit messy, and we see the photographers in the reflection. That's the prompt, right? That's the prompt, and look at the image it generated. That is fucking incredible. Look at the image it generated. It actually generated an image of a woman writing on the whiteboard with an OpenAI t-shirt on, and it looks fucking real. It legitimately looks real. This looks way scarier and real than the other things that we've been able to see from OpenAI. This is fucking incredible. One incredible image generation. Another one here is still the hands are a bit soft. The hands are a bit dodgy though. Still, the hands are a bit dodgy. It says here a selfie view of a photographer as he turns around to high five him. So the images of the people and the whiteboard still are pretty decent. The placement of the t-shirt, how it stands there, how the graphic lays on the t-shirt is pretty good. But the hands, the AI models that we have at the moment still can't really figure out hands just yet. Still can't figure out what hands do just yet. It continues here. It says useful image generation for the first cave painting. Sorry. From the first cave paintings to modern infographics, humans have used visual imagery to communicate, persuade, and analyze, not just to decorate. Today's degenerative models can conjure surreal, breathtaking scenes that struggle with the workhorse imagery people use to share and create information. From logos to diagrams, images can convey precise meaning when augmented with symbols that refer to shared language and experience. GPT 4.0 is image generation excels at accurately rendering text, precisely following prompts, and leveraging 4.0's inherent knowledge base and chat context, including transforming uploaded images or using them as visual representation. This capability makes it easier to create exactly the image that you envision, helping you communicate more effectively through visuals, advancing image generation into a practical tool for precise power. Now, in my personal opinion, this will end up killing graphic designers, especially people that design flyers and shit. Like, this will end up killing people that design flyers. I swear to God it will. So this is one that shows character consistency. Let's press play on this model, on this particular example.
How's it going?
Pretty good. One thing that I'm really excited about Image Gen is the ability to keep consistency in characters. I'm David Medina, or DMed, and I work on multimodal. What I want to show is one of my favorite prompts, which is, can you create a low poly penguin mage? Make it very, very low poly. Surprisingly, it's sometimes hard to get very good low poly outputs. It's not like other image generation models where it tries to generate something based on just the text. Instead, it uses the large language model understanding of what does the user want, what is the intent. I also like some board games, so miniature-like games. So what I'll do now is generate a miniature from this. So ideally, we'll see a penguin that looks like this with the same staff and a hat. So can you make me a realistic miniature as if a professional made this and painted it? This is what I think excites me the most about Image Gen. The other image generation models will try to create literally what you said. But what's special about this is, one, it'll keep the context of this character, and then two, it'll understand what I'm trying to ask it for and generate very similar model, but in a miniature realistic style. It infers what I want. I don't have to tell it every little detail. One other realistic thing we could do is, can you make a crystal version of this with light reflecting and very realistic? Again, I'm just giving a very, very simple thing. Normally, this is not enough for other models to generate something very detailed, but the model understands what I'm asking for. It'll think what type of style it should have. So this ability to really understand what the character is and make edits and understand what the user wants, for me, it's just an amazing capability.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I've seen a bunch of people on social media basically doing loads of different different examples of ads. So I saw some people basically using the image generator to do lookbooks for brands. So it's one particular guy had a brand that does hats. I think the hat was like Dad Gang or something. So he said, yeah, put this hat on a model sitting by the beach or something. A dad sitting by the beach with his son. And boom, the image gets generated with that hat. Like absolutely incredible. So it kind of takes away the need to have like models in certain lookbooks or for certain product images. I've seen a lot of really cool stuff for flyers, for product launches, for advertisements in terms of just like advertising a product and whatever else it may be. It's going to be a real big game changer. And the funny thing about this is that this has just only been made available to paid customers, not to the free. Once it gets to the free people like ourselves, the real fucking bottom feeders, it's going to get fucking wild. So let's play another clip here. This is for text rendering. For me, I've fucked around with graphics before. I've been able to design flyers for my own events or a few things here and there for the companies I've worked for. And one of the hardest things to do in the beginning is just to get enough ideas out there. Because sometimes you're able to pluck out the best idea by doing many ideas, many iterations. So one of the handiest things I feel like about AI that's really helpful is that you get to iterate, you get to kind of ideate really quickly. So I can probably do like 10, 20 fucking, you know, ideas for a flyer for a rave I want to put on. But then for the 20 ideas, I might combine 3 of them and then add a bit to it with my own mind to make final the flyer that I like to see, you know? That's why I think using AI is good for. I think just using it solely to just do the prompt and spit out something that you want can be a little bit redundant, a little bit shit and lacking in a bit of imagination and spark. But I think the best way to do it is to kind of help it to kind of give you a bit of a start. And then you to kind of take what it's giving you and kind of do and sprinkle some of your own magic and star power all over it to kind of get where it needs to go. But the really mad thing about all this stuff is just like how quickly industries are being wiped out, you know? How quickly like just industries and people's jobs and sectors are just going in a heartbeat. And we all know with technology, there is no like cage in this beast, right? Once the hoses are bolted, that's it. There is no going backwards. There is no scaling this back. No amount of flipping governmental influence, control, protocols, whatever it may be, laws is ever going to stop this this steam train going and going and going and going and going. So it is quite sad that we haven't really figured out a way to best help those people whose jobs are going to be eliminated. Because it's no surprise to me that in the times that I was looking for a job, especially here in London, maybe it's different somewhere else, but most of my experience working has been in like marketing, social media, community management, customer service and shit. And I found, especially with marketing and social media, the roles aren't as plentiful. And if the roles are available, they require a lot more than just what I used to do, which was, you know, managing social media accounts, which was managing emails and newsletters and stuff, maybe being in charge of publishing a blog or whatever and keeping a hold of that sort of stuff, and then and maybe helping out with any kind of communication that goes out to the customers. Now I'm seeing a lot of people when they're trying to hire for those marketing roles, they're essentially asking you to come in as a marketing manager. They don't want you to come in and send like 2 newsletters every week. No, you have to come in and run the whole thing. because obviously, you know, they don't need you to do 2 newsletters because they could easily get an AI to basically spit out a newsletter, you know, with a couple of prompts way quicker and way more consistency than you could. So I found that even on my level of being a social media manager, of being a marketing assistant, of being a community manager, those kind of roles aren't really around anymore. And I wonder if it's because of AI. You know, I wonder if that's because of that. Because you imagine if I'm a marketing manager, I could probably, you know, use AI as a tool, but then using it as a tool means I don't need an assistant. I don't need a subordinate. I don't need somebody I need to manage or look after because, you know, I could just do it on my own. And the things that I can't do, I can just kind of, you know, put that through AI and kind of go from there. So it is kind of eradicating and taking away a ton of jobs, but I am loving the results. I'm loving the creativity around it. I'm loving that it's starting to look a lot more appealing to the eye, especially some of this image generation shit. I found that before, some of the AI images that were being generated were a little bit tasteless and lacked that spark, lacked that sprinkle, lacked a bit of creativity, just lacked maybe a bit of a human touch. I don't know what it was, but I feel like now they're adding to it. It's kind of looking a little bit different than before, which I'm really loving. Oh, look at this image. Photorealism and style turning any that's fucking incredible. Oh my days. So yeah, there's loads of really cool examples here you can find courtesy of the OpenAI site to see all these really amazing images that have been generated via small easy prompts available. Oh wow, look at that. That could be a new one for my persistence fucking channel, which I haven't done yet. Actually, that's a really cool logo. I love that. Overcome inertia. But yeah, loads of fucking things on there. But one of the best things to come out of this has been the Studio Ghibli trend. The Studio Ghibli trend has been one of my favorite fucking things. Personally, unpopular opinion, I think Studio Ghibli is very overrated, in my humble opinion. I think all that fantasy at whatever anime style, it kind of takes away a lot from the narrative and the story. You know, it's a little bit too much, you know, I don't know. It's not for me personally. It's just not for me. I think it's way overrated. It's kind of like the anime that a lot of white people love to fucking watch and view. It's like if you're not really on the anime thing, but you want to kind of get in, that's an easy way to kind of get in. But, you know, I could be incorrect on that one. But I have loved people generating images in Studio Ghibli style. No, people using OpenAI's image generation to generate images in the Studio Ghibli style from iconic images in culture. They could be screenshots, they could be pictures or like, you know, screen caps from iconic movies or times in history. Fucking incredible. So many good ones that have been all over the fucking social media. I'm sure some of you have maybe seen some yourself. I've shared a bunch as well on my own fucking socials. And it's been fucking incredible to see all these iconic images over the last few years be turned into Studio Ghibli type animations or illustrations. Like, you know, some of them not so great. Some of them maybe not the most tasteful in the world. But just imagine, right, when this comes available to the free members, because right now, this new image generation photo whatever feature is only available for paid subscribers. And I think the paid subscription for OpenAI is like 40 quid or something, so I ain't paying that shit. But once this shit becomes available to us regular bottom feeding freeloaders, some of the images are going to be heinous. They're going to be horrendous, because that's where all the trolls and the real fucking, you know, edgelords kind of exist in the free tier. So when it becomes available to the free tier, these images are going to get far worse. Trust me, daddy. So yeah, loads of iconic images that you can see here from over the years. I'm sure some of them you guys recognize. If you don't see them, by the way, and you're listening via the audio podcast, don't worry. I'll put a link to my image BB fucking album, so you can view all these images yourself. But they're really fucking cool, really fucking funny. And again, just kind of show you, like, you know, a really strong, powerful AI image tool gets launched that can transform and revolutionize industries. And the first thing people do is create like nonsense images, you know, images of like these iconic scenes or the iconic GIFs and memes in an animation style. They could be doing loads of other things. They could be trying to make it work and find out ideas to launch businesses or to do this or do that. And the first thing we do as humans is fucking turn all these images into cartoons. Honestly, so fucking incredible. So you got more here. You got more here again. Studio Ghibli style shit. All these iconic images over the years. of course. Absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. I can't wait to do some myself as well when it all eventually launches. But big up OpenAI. And this goes to show, by the way, this goes to show how important it is to have competition. Competition is what pushed them to do this. It pushed them to perform at this level. Because people were seeing like, what the fuck? Like DeepSeek was launched for how much? OpenAI was raised how much? The guy that fucking founded OpenAI has been on, has been on panel discussions talking like he needs like $1 trillion. I think that's what he did, right? I remember he went on a show somewhere, I don't know where it was, and basically said he needed $1 trillion, right, to launch something. Like crazy amounts of money, crazy amounts of chip power. And now the Chinese have fucking come out with DeepSeek and basically proved to everybody that you can create an AI model for not much money that can compete with some of the top ones out there that have all the resources and all the money. So I think that's pushed OpenAI to launch this feature of this kind of level. It seems like it doesn't have any kind of pain points, no errors. It came out incredibly smooth, very well polished, and everyone's really enjoying it. So I can't wait to see what people create going forward. I can't wait to see what people create going forward. And obviously the CEO obviously replied as well, courtesy of Variety. Let's hear what they had to say regarding all of these Studio Ghibli AI images. Courtesy of Variety, it says the latest version of OpenAI's image generation technology has resulted in a flood of users sharing images on social media that have been transformed into the style of Studio Ghibli, the legendary Japanese animation studio. On Tuesday, OpenAI launched what is called the most advanced image generator yet, built into ChatGPT 4.0 that features a natively multi-model model capable of precise, accurate, and photorealistic outputs. As it turns out, the image generator also is very good at replicating the anime style of Studio Ghibli, the company behind such popular films as Spirited Away, My Neighbor Totoro, and The Boy and the Heron. Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, claimed in one viral trend in a post on X on Wednesday, indicating he's himself been Studio Ghibli-fied. Altman wrote, "Be me, grind for a decade, trying to make super intelligent to cure cancer or whatever. Mostly no one cares for the first 7.5 years. Then 2.5 years, everyone hates you for everything. Wake up one day to hundreds of messages. Look, I made you into Twink Ghibli style." Yeah, exactly. Altman also changed his profile picture to X to the Ghibli style images. Rep for Studio Ghibli North America declined to comment. However, Hayao Mizari, the co-founder of Studio Ghibli, has previously expressed strong disapproval. Oh, this might be an issue then, isn't it? The co-founder of Studio Ghibli has strongly expressed disapproval of AI-generated animation. In the 2016 meeting where he was shown an AI animation demo, Miyazaki said, "I'm utterly disgusted. If you really want to make creepy stuff, you can go ahead and do it. I do not ever wish to incorporate this technology into my work at all. I strongly feel that this is an insult to life itself." Fucking hell. You can't get a more stronger statement than that, innit? "I'm utterly disgusted. If you really want to make creepy art or creepy stuff, you can go ahead and just do it. I would never wish to incorporate this technology into my work at all. I strongly feel that this is an insult to life itself." AI is an insult to life. Fucking hell, mate. Big up Miyazaki. I fucking rate that. More recently, Hollywood actors and other creators have voiced their concerns, blah, 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 blah. Me personally, I think it's all fun and games. I'm interested to see how it evolves, how it develops. Like I said, with my flyers and the kind of world that I come from, creating cover art, creating flyers in general, ideating some stuff, coming up with some drafts to then hone into my own thing later on down the line. I think this is an incredible, useful tool, and I can't wait to use it at some point. I can't wait to use it at some point. Big up the art of the dialogue. This clip is quite disturbing, I'm not gonna lie. This clip is quite disturbing and unsettling because it features a very prominent legendary hip-hop artist and black man in Slim Thug, making all of us look bad. I know it's not all of us really, because it's Slim Thug only saying this, but this type of analysis, this type of observation, these types of views are the reason why, in my personal opinion, a lot of girls will go to the gym and they'll purposely like tie a sweater around their waist, right? They'll purposely wear long clothing, baggy clothing, whatever it may be in the gym, because they feel as if every guy around them that's working out is some sort of like laden R-word sex pest harasser. The reason why they think that, even though it's not true, is because of dumbass opinions like this.
Look at all that ass, and she got it out and ain't giving nobody none. Ain't that some bullshit, y'all? You can't be out here false advertisement like that. What the fuck? All that ass and them short ass shorts, and she don't want to give nobody none. False advertisement. I told her she better give somebody some every weekend. Why you got all your ass out and you ain't giving nobody none? If you got all you should have long clothes on. If you ain't no split the booty tights. If you ain't giving nobody none, okay? That's kind of like entrapment, right? Ain't that a certain way of entrapment? It's called minding her business. Y'all is still on that Adam and Eve devil shit, huh? Fellas, do not fall for that shit. These women is devils. They is the bad ones, kid. They try to entrap you with these outfits and try to make it like you a creep. Well, I can see how your whole shit shaped.
Honestly. Just on that last point, if they are the devil, leave them alone. If women truly are the devil, if women in scantily clothes are truly the devil, in Slim Thug's opinion, leave them alone. Leave them alone. Mind your business. But also, or in Brendan Schaub's words, but also, if you scroll back to the section where he says, look at all that ass from those shorts. I can't zoom in further, but from the angle that I'm looking at, it doesn't look like she's wearing scantily clad clothes. It looks like she's wearing regular running shorts, cycling shorts. Judging by the weather, it looks really warm wherever they are. It's not overcast, there's no clouds in the sky, it's blue skies, it looks really fucking warm. Also judging by what Slim Thug is wearing. This girl is running down the street wearing what I deem to be regular shorts, regular running shorts. And Slim Thug is out here saying she's showing too much ass. The amount of ass she's showing means that she wants to get fucked. And the fact that she doesn't want to get fucked is false advertisement. Excuse me, sir? And if you scroll down further, because I'm a bit of a worker out on myself, and because I've been a member of various CrossFit gyms in my past, or in the past, I can say with some level of certainty that most likely that girl is training at a CrossFit box, aka a CrossFit gym. That's what it looks like. And it looks like she's doing a WOD, workout of the day, which usually includes some type of running. And usually if you go to a CrossFit gym, they usually make you do the running around the building. So imagine if it's like you're doing a workout of the day, it might be 5 sets of pull-ups, push-ups, 200-meter sprints, and then, fucking deadlifts or something. So the 200-meter sprint, you will do that. You'll kind of cover the 200 meters going around the building or something. That's what they usually do. So I think she's doing a CrossFit workout or something along those kind of lines. So she's probably blowing out of her ass. She's probably super tired because you're doing pull-ups, you're doing burpees, you're doing push-ups, sit-ups, lunges, dumbbell presses, clean and jerks, snatches, overhead press. You're doing loads of fucking work exercise, basically. Plus you're doing a bit of cardio. And then you've got Slim Thug sat outside of the CrossFit box. I'm not sure why he's even sat out there, just in his car. I don't know if he's been working out there himself, if he's waiting for someone, if he just parks outside of a CrossFit box, oogling girls, but he's just sat there, barking shit at some girl running around a box. Like, what? You have to be a real sicko. You have to be a real psycho guy if you see a girl working out in whatever scantily clad clothes she's wearing and you try to stop them mid-workout to ask them something. Especially what you want to ask them is like, basically, do you want to fuck? You have to be real tapped. You have to be a real tapped individual, a real tapped man to stop a woman just minding her business working out, and that's the first thing that you want to say. In my humble opinion, if you're a creepo, or if you're a sex pest, or if you kind of those type of guys that don't have an ability to turn it off, and you see a girl in scantily clad clothes, you get to see it. That's enough. That should be enough. You get to see it. He said, oh, I can see how it's shaped. If I can see how it's shaped, it means I could have some as well, which is a fucking crazy, grapey fucking comment. But if you are that thirsty, you get to see it without any interruption, because they're always around you, jumping up and running. That should be enough. Really and truly should stop your thirst, but that should be enough. To make it out as if that girl is like, she's baiting you or teasing you is bizarre. He's probably the same type of person who says, if a woman gets fucking raped, he's the type of person to say, oh, she was asking for it. She was wearing a short skirt. Look how low her top was. She was showing too much skin. That's the type of mentality. That old boomer style mentality, that old boomer mindset where you really think you're right. He really thinks he's spitting. You really think you're saying something when you're commenting on some random woman running down the street, working out, doing her thing. And the first thing that comes to mind is that, oh, she's doing too much. She's putting all that ass out there and she ain't give it. Like, if you got all that ass out of your shorts, you have to give someone something. Like, what? How does that even make any sense? If I'm wearing running shorts outside and my bum that I can't help it happens to fucking be gyrating inside it because I'm running up and down, I then have to give you some. What? Let me run in peace, bro. Mind your business. Keep your head up. Like, it's not that deep. But I guess, these old motherfuckers have weird fucking perspective. Honestly, I saw this and when I saw this, I thought to myself, you know what? Everything makes sense what I see in a gym nowadays. It all makes sense. The amount of girls I see walking around with jumpers tied around their waist, the amount of girls I see who try to not pass guys with their back turns to them and try to go that way. The amount of girls I see who really try their best not to ask a guy if they're using a plate because they don't want to engage a conversation. Like, I see that all the time with girls, especially in the gym. I was thinking, why are you acting so weird? But now I get it, because they have no idea who you are. So they don't know if they say, hey, can I use that plate? They have no idea you're going to be, yeah, use it. Or if you're going to use the opportunity, just be like, hey, what's up, man? What's your name? It's like, shut up. Fermez la bouche. In my humble opinion, unpopular opinion time, I think when you go to the gym, you shouldn't speak at all. I don't even agree with people that go there in the gym as with friends. I don't agree with that. When you go to the gym, it should be a solo pursuit. It should be a time for you to do a bit of active meditation, if that makes any sense. Active meditation. You go there to work out. You go there to better yourself. You go there maybe to take out some of the frustration you've had at work. Maybe some mad guy on the train bumped into you. Maybe his bag hit the back of your head. Maybe someone stepped on your brand new suede shoes. Maybe your boss didn't give you a raise. Maybe somebody you're managing is being a bit of a CUNT. That's when you go to the gym to kind of do a bit of zen. Take some time away. And also don't use your phone. I've noticed in my gym, because there's Wi-Fi now. The Wi-Fi works in my gym now. I see bare people on the phone, myself included. But I have to resist. I have to be like, no, decide what playlist you want to play. Usually an hour playlist. Usually I have two playlists. I have one for my warm-up and then one for my workout. Decide what you want to play, stick with it, and don't touch your phone. And also, don't talk to people. Don't go there, try and socialize, make friends, focus on your fucking workout. So, if I see guys trying to go there and spit game, I get it. It's hard not to. Because when you go to a gym, you're basically seeing people that you would be attracted to because everyone's in there trying to better themselves. No matter what they look like, no matter if they're the fittest of the fittest or the fattest of the fattest, everybody that you're going to see in the gym is trying to better themselves. So by default, they're going to be attracted because you're like, wow, you're taking time out of your day to do this thing, to work out, put yourself through this, blah, 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 blah. You are definitely somebody that I could see myself with because that's the kind of traits that I want to see in somebody that I want to be with. But in my opinion, that is not the time, that is not the place. It can happen, don't get me wrong. There can be an occasion when it can happen. But for the most part, just focus on the fucking workout. It really isn't that deep. And if you are that thirsty, just look. Just get your rocks off by just looking because they're there. They're walking all around. Just look. That's all you have to do. Then you satisfy your fucking whatever urge via just looking. You don't have to go and spit game. You have to go and say, hey man, how can I get in them shorts, baby girl? Like, nah. Leave them alone. Leave them alone. Like, it must be so annoying, isn't it? Like, and I'm not even one of those type of guys, right? But just thinking about it, it must be so annoying to be a girl. It must be so annoying because it never stops. Think about it. It never stops. From a guy's point of view, it's like, yeah, man, she's hot. So if she's hot and I'm a man and I'm straight, like it's in my right, innit? I got to speak to her, innit? Like she's a girl, I got blah, blah, blah. But if you're a girl, it never ends. From the day that you get your boobs, from the day you have your first period onwards, it never fucking stops. You always feel the leer behind the back of your head, which is what women always have, right? Women seem to have a really good knack for knowing who's watching them. Even when they're not looking, they can always feel someone watching them. You get leers, you get jeered, you get heckled, you get whistled at, you get hollered at. It never ends. Yes, some people could say it's not a problem to have, but sometimes you think to yourself, I just want a break, man. Let me just go to the gym. I just want a break, man. Nah, no break, cuz. Even in the gym. What's good though? You alright, yeah? I see you recently. Like that must be the most creepy one. I see you all the time here. I see you all the time here. You're like, what? You see me all the time here? So you're noting down what time I come here? It's all bad. I'm sure there's a way to do it correctly. I don't know what it is because I go to the gym to work out and get my thing. I'm not really thinking about that sort of shit. But in general, I would advise all of my fellow mandem to just allow it. You're not owed anything. You're not entitled to anything. It doesn't matter if a girl comes into a gym wearing a thong. Leave them alone. Let them work out. It's none of your business. Leave them fucking alone. It's not that deep. It really is. And if you do say these type of things like a fucking slim thug, don't be annoyed or don't be upset when people call you a molester, pesty, you know, R word and shit, because you kind of sound like a psycho. But again, what do I know? And then this is another psycho story. And this doesn't probably mean much because I guess the details of it aren't as, you know, salacious as a headline. But it's just hilarious, like, this story, because it's hilarious in context of when the whole Kendrick and Drake thing was happening, Joe Budden was also having his own personal beef with Drake, which has been a long-running beef, right? I don't really know what the reason is behind it, but at one point, Joe Budden and Drake were good friends. They used to hang out together. I'd imagine they probably got the same taste in women, you know? Drake likes his Latinas, Joe likes his Latinas, or just voluptuous women in general. They hanged out at the same spaces. They're both, you know, light skin mixed, or no, Drake's mixed race, but you know what I mean, right? Maybe some people could say Joe was the blueprint for Drake's career in terms of that emotional, introspective, vulnerable, sort of like, you know, Crimea River, sort of like style of hip hop and R&B. But in general, they were friends and then they fell out. I don't know why specifically, but they fell out. And when the Kendrick and Drake beef happened, Joe saw an ample opportunity to kind of kick Drake while he was down. Because at that time, culturally, everybody was kind of rallying behind Kendrick. So he kind of saw the opportunity, which I don't have a problem with personally. I don't have a problem with that because he has a personal issue with the guy. You see your op getting kicked. Of course, jump in and kick him in the head too. Do you know what I mean? Little flyby kick. I completely understand that. But the point where it got a little bit too much for me was when Joe tried to insinuate that Drake was a bad guy. Like, tried to insinuate that Drake was fucking everybody's girls. That's why everyone hated him. That Drake was maybe a PDF. I found that a bit rich. And again, I don't doubt anything because I don't know these people personally. I like Drake's music. I'm a big fan of his music. Big fan of his little OVO fucking collective and shit. But in terms of ruling out if someone's a PDF or not, I don't know nothing. It's none of my business. I'm not involved in that shit. But I thought it was kind of rich coming from Joe, considering the allegations that he has. Considering what people have said about him over his career, for him to come out and like point the finger and be like, you're dealing with too many young girls, which is another thing. He's so old. He's always, because I think at that time, there was rumors out there that allegedly Drake was romantically involved with Latto's younger sister. And if Latto's in her mid-20s, I don't know how the younger sister might be like early 20s. So people were making a big stink about that. So Joe kept feeding into that narrative. So I always found that strange because Joe has his history of being with very young, sometimes vulnerable, naive, don't know the language, young girls. And he's now pointing the finger and saying the same thing towards Drake. So I thought that was a bit rich, right? Pot kettle black, don't throw stones in glass houses and shit. Then obviously the funniest development twist of the story was this. When it got revealed that Drake was in trouble at the building where he records Joe Budden podcasts, I guess mainly because of the noise and whatever else happens there, because I think I learned basically that one of the reasons why a lot of podcasters don't have podcast studios in houses is because sometimes, especially in apartment blocks, people can complain about the noise and stuff. Especially if you have a lot of guests over, which is why people usually go for studios, because they're usually in locations where there's not a lot of residential homes around. But I think Joe got in trouble for that, even though that studio is fucking beautiful. I love the views, that it has and shit. He got in trouble essentially for causing too much of a ruckus. And we also learned through him getting in trouble with the police and stuff was that allegedly Joe also owns other apartment, in that block that he has a studio in. And sometimes I guess when he's maybe recording late, I don't know, because maybe New Jersey is hard to get to from where his studio is. He sometimes sleeps over at that main studio, which makes sense, right? Because I think they're recording like the living room, kitchen area. So it's probably rooms that you can probably sleep in. So Joe sometimes sleeps in there. And I guess, I didn't know this, but I guess Joe sleeps naked. He's one of those freaks, which is, I think is, in my personal opinion, I think it's, it's a little bit odd. But there are some people that prefer to sleep naked. And on top of sleeping naked, we also learned that Joe sometimes sleepwalks. And then it all came to a head when a report came out, a news report or police report, that Joe had been in trouble because he allegedly one night was sleepwalking naked in his apartment building, knocking on people's doors trying to get in. And obviously the optics of that are horrible, but it could be explained because he actually has a condition that caused him to sleepwalk. And it's obviously doubly embarrassing because he sleeps naked. So when he does sleepwalk, he's out there completely starkers in his hallway of his building, knocking on people's doors and shit, causing a ruckus. So that was a big news. And I thought, again, that was funny because he was pointing a finger at Drake at being a bit of a creep and a bit weird. But here's him doing the most weirdest thing ever. Well, there's another development. I think the actual court case got thrown out, but this is a civil suit. And now we have the images from the from the cameras, the door cameras of these people's buildings that show Joe in the fucking camera, at the door knocking. Well, I guess maybe the residents weren't in and shit. Fucking incredible. It's an article from TMZ. He's now being sued in a civil lawsuit. Fucking incredible. Courtesy of TMZ, it says Joe Budden sued. Neighbours had enough. Nude streaking, weed smoking, podcast gotta go. I don't know why they got Melissa Ford's face in there. Maybe just to make it seem like she's the complaint. I don't really know why, but the weird that they have her face in there when she's not really linked to the story. But the article says as follows. Joe Budden is being dragged into court by two neighbors who claim he tried to enter their place while naked and has been causing a ruckus in the building with his podcasts. TMZ Hip Hop obtained a complaint filed by attorney Thomas Miriglano on behalf of John and Yulia Yaksoy, who claim Budden, his podcast host Melissa Ford, and the Condo Association have engaged in a campaign of intimidation and retribution after Aksoy raised complaints about the disruption from Budden recording his highly rated podcast in the building. Now, Joe said at the time that this woman is a racist. That's why they were causing an issue. I don't know how much of that I believe. I'm not too sure. I don't know if it's just like rich uppity people who just don't like noise, who just like to have, they don't like noise. They just like to be like, something. But even if it is racism, can you blame them based on some of his activities? Because this image of him in the fucking, what's it called? In that door camera thing is incredible because you could tell it's Joe straight away because of the scoliosis. You could tell how he stands. You could tell from the tattoos. You can tell from the massive, I wouldn't say it's a beer belly. It's mostly like a calamari, steak, cheesy fries, mac and cheese belly, That belly isn't full of beer. That belly's full of a lot of like medium rare steaks with fucking peppercorn sauce with a couple of nice sides, chunky fries, like that's a eating well. That's like, some really good restaurant level hot wings, maybe a chocolate cheesecake, a chocolate fondue, all these type of things you can tell from that particular picture there. But just imagine how scared you'd be, or how worried you'd be, how freaked out you'd be if you opened up your app and this is what you saw when someone rang your door. Because most likely those buildings are linked to your phone, right? They have cameras or door alert systems that are linked to your phone. So if somebody knocks, you can kind of open it where you're at or holler at them or speak to them while you're on the phone somewhere else. Just imagine how freaked out you'd be like, what? Who's this? And then imagine how gratifying or satisfying it must have felt for the neighbors who already have a beef with Joe when they saw on the video, like, hold on, that's the guy that we have beef with, innit? That's the guy that we fucking hate, who throws all the parties. That's the guy that's always recording podcasts like super late at night and everyone's screaming and shouting. It's no wonder that he gave them such a fucking layup. He gave them, you know, it on a fucking silver platter. Absolutely crazy. But that image is so funny because you can just tell straight away from that scoliosis that that's fucking Joe Budden. Joe and Juliana both claimed they confronted Budden. No, John and Juliana both had claimed that they confronted Joe Budden about the excessive noise from the podcast and complained about Budden and co-smoking weed in the condo's common area, leaving ashes on the property and creating hazardous health situation for their young daughter. Yeah, you see, that's what I don't like. That's what I don't like. You're allowed to be like 100% niggery. You're allowed to do all those niggery things, but surely, like, just clean up around yourself, innit? It's not that difficult. Just clean up around yourself. Like, if you're gonna smoke, if you're gonna do whatever, clean up the butts or whatever, or just put them in a fucking bin or something. Maybe stay in one area. Maybe limit the sound. Maybe try and get some sort of insulation put into the actual apartment building itself. But this sort of thing is kind of lame. And then blaming on racism is also kind of cheeky. Axoys said that they filed a complaint and the condo association, leading to Budden firing back and accusing Julia of making racially charged remarks towards him. They say Budden even doubled down and claimed to have a recording of the alleged racism. Johns also says he called his bluff and told him to produce the audio, which they say still hasn't been surfaced. Exactly. I don't believe it, because Joe's a known liar. Having listened to Joe Budden podcast for a long time, Joe is a known liar. So I don't believe that there is footage or a clip of that guy being racist, because if it was, he would have definitely released it. I just think this is more so of an issue of rich uppity people just not liking niggers, in terms of like niggery energy. You have to just temper yourself. It's less about racism and more so a classism type of thing. You just have to kind of acquiesce and kind of, you know, move accordingly in certain, which is probably why if you're rich and you're black, it's probably a little bit of a disadvantage to go and stay in one of these swanky apartments or these apartment buildings. Like I can imagine, even in London, there's an area somewhere in South, I think it's like Greenwich or Woolwich, just along the River Thames, where there's a couple of buildings there, really high, really super high skyscrapers type flats, where a lot of people live, and they're really like, you know, expensive apartments. And a lot of YouTubers, content creators, once they make a bit of money, they go and get houses out there that kind of overlook the River Thames. It's kind of a flex, right? Because you grow up in the flats and horrible counter houses, and you finally get the ability to pay like, I don't know, $5,000 a month in rent to overlook the River Thames. And it's a nice for the backdrop of your fucking YouTube videos and blah, 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 blah. But I can also imagine it might be a bit of a culture shock, because those buildings have a different type of way people kind of conduct themselves around it. You have to behave a different way, you know? You maybe can't have a lot of late night sessions and afters. It might cause issues for you in terms of the building managers or regulators or whatever it may be. So you have to kind of move accordingly. So I think in this particular case, most likely both people are right. Maybe the woman and the guy were being a little bit annoying about things that they're complaining about, because it's just like inviting friends over. Doesn't matter if it's a podcast or whatever. You telling me to keep my noise down in my own house is fucking crazy. But then the other side of it, I can also understand from the residents who lived there before, that it's a bit annoying to suddenly get this like rambunctious podcast with like 17 co-hosts and 18 fucking behind the camera people all coming in 3 times a week recording content for like 10 hours per day. It can be a bit much. It's a bit much in terms of both people, which is probably why in the long term you can imagine most likely the job on a podcast will probably end up moving locations to somewhere else, because they probably will end up getting evicted just because of this back and forth, because they usually side with one resident, usually the person paying the most, who's been there the longest, maybe has more influence, blah blah blah. The couple also cites an episode of the podcast from October 19th, which they say involved the host deliberately playing loud music and simulating gunshots and sirens lasting more than 8 minutes. On the same episode, they say Budden referred to the actors of the neighbours and dissed Julia on the podcast. Jesus Christ, Joe. Jesus Christ. They've got stonewall evidence and proof that Joe has been antagonizing them and getting on their via the podcast. I could definitely see that happening, man. Because that gunshot sound effect, even if you listen to the podcast via headphones, you have to sometimes take your headphones out because it's fucking loud as fuck, man. They also say that Budden misinterpreted his alleged attempt to enter the residence while naked on the 4th, as he joked and dismissed the incident publicly. The Ascoys included screenshots from the door cam they say shows nude Budden in the hallway. Budden was subsequently temporarily barred from the condo, but he says he returned about a week later. Joe's lawyer, Nima Amiri, tells TMZ Hip Hop they believe the lawsuit is a little more than a money grab attempt by a person we believe to be a racist. Like, even if they are racist, they probably can still get money for this, right? Because this will just keep going on and on. So most likely Joe will want to just settle out of court just to kind of get rid of this issue. It seems like fans can still expect it. So yeah, let's see what happens. I think it's fucking hilarious. And I just think the timing is beautiful, considering that Joe was going at Drake for being a sex pest and for dealing with too many young girls and being a weirdo. But here's Joe doing the most weirdo thing ever. Number one, sleeping naked as a man is weirdo shit. And number two, sleeping naked while also knowing you have a sleepwalking condition is very, very weird and very sus. And I think it's kind of deserving because he was out here talking a lot of shit. So it's kind of deserving this has happened. But I also think maybe the lawsuit is a little bit frivolous. So let's see how it goes. Let's see how it goes. Let's continue on. I don't know how to feel about this, by the way. Andrew Tate and his brother Christian Tate sat down and described the feeling. They described how it was to meet Kanye in person. As you know, the Tate brothers are, being currently investigated for some very serious crimes. They're actually currently back in Romania, but for a short time, they came to the USA because they were granted release from their house arrest before the trial takes off. So they came to America, did a big fucking American tour. For some reason, they didn't go to Fresh and Fit, by the way. For some reason, Fresh and Fit have been capping, have been simping, have been making excuses for and championing the Tate brothers for a while. But for some reason, they avoided going on Fresh and Fit. I wonder, is it a case of Andrew Tate and his brother thinking Fresh and Fit are just too dorky, too lame? Even though Fresh and Fit probably think they operate in the same space, the Tate brothers probably think they're better than them, right? They probably look down at them like, no, we can't do that. So they went everywhere except for Fresh and Fit. And I guess during their tour of America, they also managed to talk with and hang out with Kanye. And they got to visit his studio or his, I guess, back cave, workshop, whatever it may be. And it's fucking incredible. I'm not going to lie. I think this may be the one I think this one might be the one in LA. That's like a massive building where somebody, I think, had sprayed a swastika on the side and they covered it up. I think somebody did that. I think that might be what I'm thinking of. But let's play the video where they talk about their experience meeting Kanye.
We met Kanye West. If you haven't seen this video, this was Kanye very kindly invited us to his underground Batman-esque cavern where he produces his genius, and it was truthfully quite an amazing experience.
It wasn't interesting.
When I walked in there, I was like, "This is like unlike anywhere I've ever been before." It was truly.
He's
unique.
a truly unique person.
Guys, imagine Kanye calls you and you walk into a building and this is what you see.
And for those of you who are listening, what you see here is a video of them walking into a really massive warehouse room with super high ceilings, and there's a table right at the front and what looks like a super big like wraparound curved screen. I don't know how long it is. It might be like, I don't know, 100 feet or something. It's fucking crazy long. Massive curved screen that Kanye watches things on, projects, I guess, projects, whatever, movies, clips, whatever else on there. And there's a table that they work on right in front of it as well. It's super cool. And there's also a really great sound system as well that's playing some great music through it.
How do you predict the future? What's coming next?
And there's a chair there. I don't know what that chair, I don't know what that bed is. I think that's a dentist chair, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's a light that dentists use. That little circular light there on the bed. I think so. There's a bed anyway. There's a bed there. Yeah, it looks like a dentist chair. Or some sort of doctor thing. Maybe it's a setup, I don't know. But it's a pretty interesting space. Nothing else there because, Kanye is the king of minimalism. So nothing else there. Just a table and a massive screen right at the front.
It's like, it's a war. You go on a war, you can't tell somebody put down their weapons. It's a war, and then soldiers is ready to really die. You know what I'm saying? For what they believe in. If you're really a soldier, it's like, oh, it's the next frontier. We start a new world.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. Unfortunately, it involves the Tate brothers, so not the greatest thing if you're a fucking fan of Kanye. but it's a pretty cool studio space. I love the fact that he does that quite often. He does tend to prefer having those big multi-use studio spaces where you can kind of do a bunch of things out there at the same time. That's kind of the dream for me when I eventually take this to the next level, is to get a space like that, a warehouse space where I could essentially have different sets in each corner doing different things in terms of the random show, you know, football live streams, you know, whatever style things, Tazs show, all this type of thing. That's kind of the idea I'm having. Instead of it being modular, more so a space that's really big, high ceilings, where I can create different sets in each corner and then be able to kind of, you know, stream whenever I need to be, without having to set up or take down whatever the set every single time. And also it makes it kind of multifunctional because you could then use the space as a little mini warehouse, a place to do photo shoots, a place to do a bit of manufacturing, producing, meetings, all that good shit can happen in one space. So it looks a pretty good space. Big up Kanye for it. Unfortunately, it involves the Tate brothers, but you know, Kanye's on this particular tip at the moment. So whatever, what can you say? This is a little observation, really. Not much really to add on this, apart from just an observation of how Twitter works. So I've been on Twitter a lot more recently. I've been using that app way more than I've been using Instagram in terms of just stuff that I'm posting. I obviously check Instagram from time to time. I don't really post on there too much, so I feel it's a little bit uninspired. But I love a lot of the conversations and some of the things that kind of get birthed from Twitter. And I feel like in terms of like a content, you know, arc, I feel like things kind of generate themselves on Twitter first, then they kind of get spread or disseminate on like other platforms like Instagram, Facebook, whatever else it may be. I feel like most things kind of start becoming viral on Twitter first. So it's quite cool to kind of catch them when they do become viral or do get viral first. So this particular clip is kind of gone viral again on my side of social media. It features, I forgot her fucking name again. Is it Jamila? I forgot her name. Really popular UK singer here, R&B singer. I think it's Jamila. Or is it Alicia Dixon? Is her name Alicia Dixon or is it Jamila? I think it might be Jamila. Is it Jamila? Jamila. Let's do Jamila singer. What's her name again? It is Jamila. It's Jamila. Sorry, apologies. So big up Jamila. This is a legendary pop R&B singer from back in the day. Really fucking killed it. Model as well. Kind of way before. I'd say probably ahead of her time. She probably didn't get the flowers that she probably deserves, because she probably came ahead of her time. And incredible singer. Obviously a bit of a hottie herself. But she basically spoke on a podcast about how safe she feels in Dubai. I didn't know this, but Jamila recently moved to Dubai, and she kind of shared some of her reasons why she moved to Dubai and some of the positive things that have come from her move to Dubai with her family, which includes her 2 young daughters. So this is a clip where she kind of talks about her experience in Dubai.
So in March of 2024, I decided to move to Dubai with my girls. And the reason we moved to Dubai is just because I felt as if I felt like we needed a new start, but I felt like that was the perfect place for us to do it. Dubai is a fantastic place for women and girls, despite what Western society tells you about the Middle East.
Why so?
It's so safe. Women and children are exalted. Like mothers, oh my gosh, mothers are put on a pedestal, and no one cares how your children got here. Like, it's just the most beautiful, supportive. I feel like I have a village in every environment. Everywhere I go, I feel supported, I feel cherished, and my girls are, some could describe it as a false sense of security because we're from the Western world. But living in the Middle East as a female, as a black woman, it's like, it's like, what is this? What is this, and why didn't I know this existed?
Really?
I live without anxiety. I don't fear anything. I don't fear for my safety. I don't fear for my children. I am, every experience is a beautiful one. You know, there is so much attention to detail, to well-being. There's the culture is really, I would say that everything is built around your well-being.
Okay.
And almost every interaction you have, you know, you can go to the supermarket and they ask you, are you happy? Yeah. Are you happy as a question? You're like, yeah. Yeah, I think so. But more and more, there is a whole section of the government which is dedicated to the happiness of the people in Dubai.
In my opinion, I think she was very clear about why she moved there. You could have your disagreements about it, but she was very clear about why she moved there and about why she enjoys living in Dubai by herself and with her family, for herself and for her family, right? Now, the beauty of Twitter is this. That clip was very clear in what she said. Very, very clear. And then somebody quote tweets it and says the following. I get why people move to Dubai and the idea of not believing negative stereotypes from the West about Middle East countries. But to say that they prioritize the happiness of everyone when they know it was built on exploitation and current exploitation of others is wild. This is like a very particular thing about Twitter. People like willfully misinterpreting what you're saying. It constantly happens. Now, I don't know if this is a case of maybe people on social media in general don't actually watch clips. So maybe this person's responding to the caption below and not actually play the clip. But I've seen this thing be quite common on Twitter where you will say something like, no, you will say something in a tweet. You'll be like, oh my God, I love donuts. And then somebody will reply and say, what? So what, you don't like hot dogs? You're like, I didn't say that. I said I love donuts. Oh, you're a fucking dickhead. So you don't like muffins? No, I said I like donuts. I don't know what it is about that platform, but it just encourages people to be like cynical, smarmy, a bit negative, a bit dour, a bit snappy, a bit curt, and just always purposefully misinterpret what you say or not give you the benefit of the doubt. It always seems to happen. And I don't know what it is about that platform, but I notice it all the freaking time. Because I think Jamila was very clear with her reasons behind her move to Dubai. You can maybe question those points that she made, but she didn't say anything else. She just said what she said. The positives of what she's kind of found living there. And this person's like, well, you didn't talk about the exploitation. It's like, yeah, because I was talking about the things that I like. Obviously, she doesn't like exploitation. That's common sense. Everyone could kind of come to that conclusion. But I just love how people willfully misinterpret what we have to say on social. I fucking find it funny, especially on Twitter. So big up Twitter, big up X, and big up everybody that uses that fucking platform. You know what it is. You know what it is. Talking about what it is, big up Ye. This is a tweet from a while back. Big up Stay Grounded TV. I find this kind of hilarious because I think this is more common than people would lead to believe. This is a very interesting development. So if you guys know that Kanye recently went on a bit of a crash out on his social, and weirdly enough, he decided to crash out on Jim Jones, who Kanye was pictured hanging out with, I think in Japan, and maybe even back here. I think Jim Jones let Kanye wear his like Dipset chain. They were hanging out for a while. Around the same time, Kanye was driving around that fucking silver Mercedes, right? That wrapped Mercedes, which I fucking loved. Well, out of nowhere, Kanye during his rants recently was like, fuck Jim Jones. And everyone's like, huh? What are you guys just hanging around each other recently? Like, isn't he one of your like newer rekindled friendships in this new phase you're in? Well, Kanye decided to explain why he says fuck Jim Jones. And I find the reason hilarious. Essentially, Jim Jones finessed Kanye. But I also understand why he did it, So let's read the tweet, courtesy of Stay Grounded from Ye, where he explains why he said fuck Jim Jones. Ye. I know this is going to sound like some Tarantino movie, but here it goes. So, Jim Jones got paid $2 million to introduce me to a gentleman named Mr. Pink to discuss my crypto coin and never told me he was getting $2 million and never cut me in. But that wasn't the worst part. We were working on clothes and I asked him for a PDF and then this nigga told me he don't know how to make a PDF. I said, get one of your young niggas to make it, capo. I actually love Jim Jones and I'll never go full Ye, but I want the PDF more than I want the money. So yeah, I think maybe wanted to help him with some merch. Maybe Ye saw some merch that Jim Jones was making and liked it and wanted to make some edits on it or whatever. So he asked for the line sheet. He asked for the PDF so he could fuck around with it on fucking Photoshop or Illustrator. And I guess naturally Jim Jones has no idea how to make a PDF. which is probably a good thing if you know the colloquial way to use PDF, but regardless. But I think the fucking scam of the crypto coin is hilarious because that just goes to show how much money is involved in crypto, how much money is involved in meme coins, how much money is involved in that scam. Because somebody was willing to pay, Mr. Pink was willing to pay Jim Jones $2 million to meet Kanye. Now, to be fair to that Mr. Pink person, $2 million to meet Kanye, potentially to influence him to launch a meme coin, which you could probably make upwards of like double-digit millions on if it's a Kanye thing, and when you do the whole pump and dump, it's probably worth it. Because you're not going to get that meet any other way. There's some people in the world, no matter how much money you have, the meeting you only get if you have a cosign. If somebody brings you in. There are some people in the world that you won't meet unless somebody cosigns it, you know? Somebody stamps it. Somebody gives you that approval. Some people have that kind of aura. And I think Kanye is one of those type of people. But it's wild that Jim ran that hustle on him and didn't give him any peas. And it's also funny, Kanye being as rich as he is, would give a fuck they didn't get a portion of the 2 million. Like, why do you care? 2 million is probably like $2,000 for Kanye now at this point. But I find it hilarious that even at this level, there's always a hustle being run. There's always a scam being run. And if you know anything about Jim Jones' history, much I love Jim Jones, you know, people have said in the past that the reason why fucking Max B is basically in prison is because Jim Jones signed him to a crazy record contract that he couldn't get out of. And that every time he made music, money would go directly to Jim, and most of it would go to Jim, and Max wouldn't make anything, which is why Max B ended up having to run that crazy robbery plan with that stripper that landed him getting 75 years, right? So it looks like Jim Jones is still doing those kind of like, you know, back door, behind the door, behind your back kind of plays, because that's kind of wild. Not even telling him that you took the money or that someone paid, like, that's kind of insane, because most likely, knowing how Ye is, he doesn't, you know, as much as he talks about money, he doesn't seem to be obsessed with having it. So most likely if Jim Jones said, hey, this guy gave me $2 million to talk to you, will you sit down with him? Ye would have probably told him, yeah, no worries, don't worry about the money. He would have probably been cool with it. Most likely, I'd imagine. But he didn't. He still ran the play. And I love how Ye's calling him out for not being able to make a PDF, which is weird because I think nowadays, with this level of PDF, with this level of Photoshop, sorry, the ones that are out at the moment, I'm sure you can just export as a PDF now. You don't even have to like make it as a PDF, you know? Back in the day, you had to have to make something on like an Adobe, what was it called? Was it Adobe Reader? There was some sort of program you used to use back in the day to create PDFs. But now that you can turn anything into a PDF, just export it as a PDF, simple. So the fact that Jim Jones can't even click export as PDF is pretty concerning. But it's also kind of cool that he runs an entire empire of clothing and merch and other businesses and has never once had to make a PDF. That's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool thing to have. That's a pretty cool thing to have. Big up, blood clot, Jim Jones. Let's talk about Bouncer versus Fumez. So if you guys don't know, Bouncer and Fumez the engineer, a very popular YouTuber, music engineer, producer guy. He's kind of similar to Playboi Max in the UK, where he does these studio sessions with rappers and artists, and they make a track together live there. But it's a bit more, I guess it's a bit more edited and curated content-wise, right? But it's a really good series. He's been kind of getting some slack online recently. If I'm not mistaken, there's a lot of chatter on social media about his platform being pay for play, about people maybe getting preferential treatment. I don't know. I forgot what it was, but I remember there was some issues on social with him, or just maybe just in general his personality. I don't know what it is. I don't really watch a lot of his content. I've seen some of it on social. I personally like how it's shot. Maybe the overly screw-faced thing behind the thing is a bit corny, but it's also hard to make music generating content without looking corny. With the whole head nod, you kind of have to do it. If the camera's on, you're not just going to sit there still, you know? You kind of have to animate yourself, whatever it may be. But in general, I love the idea of the show. I think it works really pretty well. And it's done pretty well because I think he's also landed a record contract. Well, for whatever reason, it looks like Bouncer has now decided to kind of like chirp in and comment on his business. And he basically started saying some stuff about Fumez because Fumez is having an ongoing beef at the moment with Young Spray. And Bouncer decided to do some pocket watching on his stream, on his channel, and broke down or attempted to break down how much Fumez makes. And I guess because I watch a lot of Bouncer content, I think this was more so relating to other videos he's made. Bouncer made a couple other videos where he was sort of like bemoaning the fact that there isn't. I think that was a reaction to like. I think this is to be fair to Bouncer. I think this is less about Fumez and more to do with Dig That, because Bouncer used to manage Dig That and they kind of had a falling out, and now Dig That's in prison for life essentially, having crashed out. You know, whatever. We'll comment out another time. But I think in the wake of Dig That getting found guilty for that attempted murder charge of Striker, Bouncer's been bemoaning the fact that in the UK there aren't enough black millionaires in the rap game or the music industry. Given how popular people are, all the festivals they're on, he finds it annoying, or it really pisses him off that there aren't enough people who will have liquid 1 million in their bank account. He's been commenting on it quite a bit. And I guess in the running of like talking about the Young Spray and fucking Fumez thing, he decided to kind of comment on Fumez, the level he's at, he should be way richer. But he spends most of his money on jewelry. So even though that was like a dig and a bit of a snarky thing to say, I don't think it was aimed at Fumez. I think it was him kind of, again, carrying on that conversation that he had post Dig That being found guilty of the attempted M, that he's annoying that people don't have enough money. Because I think he was commenting on the fact that none of Dig That's friends had the P, I guess, to kind of, get him a good lawyer or whatever else it may be. Or he didn't have the P himself to be able to afford a good lawyer and he had to go with a public defender. Anyway, long story short, let me play the clip of Bouncer going through Fumez's numbers and trying to ascertain how much Fumez makes and how much he signed his deal for. Because in Bouncer's opinion, he thinks Fumez basically went for the bag instead of maybe being more independent and making money himself, and he would have made more money. That's basically his assumption. But let me play the clip for you so you can get what I mean.
This is on Spotify, guys, and just break this down because I'm only gonna go through that at the top. Let's see more, yeah. I'm only gonna go through 10. There's 10, yeah. Now we got TPL times Fumez the Engineer. 81 million streams. Now you see on Apple Music, I would say around 20 million streams. This song has made around between 450 and 500,000 dollars up to date alone. Number 2, bruv, look at that one now, guys. A92 is on 122 million streams. Let's go on my phone. Just so you lot can kind of know the logistics. 4,000.
Wrong word.
You get around $4,000 on Spotify per million streams times 122. So $488,000. Yeah. Okay. Let's say usually Apple Music, it's like a quarter. Let's say usually Apple Music is like a quarter. Yeah. So let's say 30 million streams times 6,000, yeah? 30 times 6,000, 180. Now, guys, let me break this down to you. Between 2 songs, I ain't even gonna go down to the rest of them. I'm not gonna go down to the rest of them, but between 2 songs, it's made £1 million, $1 million. Let me flip my screen. Let me break this down. Fumez the Engineer got signed. On distribution, he got signed, I think he got given around £2.5 million to bring more artists onto his platform. So he was meant to bring Fredo, he was meant to bring a number of big artists and pay the money and get them onto the platform. Whether usually to get a Fredo to jump on there, if you paid him 50 bags, he would have jumped on there and done the plugged in. He was meant to use all this money, and he signed a distribution deal. So he signed the rights over for a certain period of times and whatnot. But what he done instead is he bought jewelry. And this is what I mean, guys, in my last video. What does this mean? So let me tell you something. You see, when you're buying jewelry, and what's been happening to everyone that keeps on buying jewelry, they keep on getting robbed. They get robbed. Dig That robbed. Now he's looking at 25, 30 years in prison. Young Fume, the engineer, robbed. Now he went to go buy more jewelry. And it's just, look, here's my thing, guys, yeah? He does amazing for the scene. Amazing. I'm a big supporter of him.
Doesn't sound like it.
JD, he's done great things for musicians. But it's about understanding why are we cutting, why don't we value our worth? Why don't we value our worth? Why do we go through all the struggles to blow up your first song and then sell it to the labels? Understand that, guys.
Now, you get the point of what he's trying to say, right? I think it's a bit unfair. I think there's a lot of assumptions out there. We don't know what number he signed for, Fumes, when he got the record deal. But I do think this is an unfair criticism I think I've seen with a lot of artists. And I think it's not fair because for the most part, unless you do come from money, most people who are doing music or any type of art are usually struggling. Most people. There are some people who obviously have the advantage of being brought up in a family where there's a lot of money, where they can kind of take chances and, figure stuff out along the way. But most people are having to work dead-end jobs while still having to kind of, juggle their creative dreams. So, with that being said, I think it's entirely understandable when a young artist in the industry, doesn't matter what their age is, finally gets a record deal and signs away their life, signs away their rights, signs it all away for that advance. Because they've been struggling for so long. They've been suffering for so long. They've been in pain for so long. They've been hungry for so long. And you can only imagine when you don't have anything or when you have very little and somebody offers you 2.3 million, 2.5 million, somebody offers you 100 grand. I heard another artist say that they signed, with a record label for 100 grand advance, which is fucking wild. But you can understand, if you don't have any money, you've never even had 100 grand in your bank account in a calendar year. Imagine somebody says, yeah, here's a check for 100 grand. It's hard not to accept it when that's always been your dream, always been your goal, was to be a musician, was to be an artist, was to be a producer. So, although I don't believe the figures, I could understand why Fumes would decide, let me go through the label route to get that money up front, to then fund my lifestyle, fund my dreams, and then I can figure out the stuff later on. Because if he waits and tries to do it, because maybe he doesn't have the knowledge. Not everyone has the knowledge or the ability or the time or the wherewithal to want to do the independent thing, which is really difficult. At the moment, Russ, big up Russ, by the way, one of my favorite artists out there and very transparent. He is doing at the moment a promo run, marketing run for his new album that's about to drop. I forgot the name of it, something wild, right? And I saw on social media, he's been very transparent and showing everybody and telling everybody how much he's spending on certain things. Whether it comes to getting vinyl printed, posters, signing things, shows. He's being very transparent to show you the kind of grind that you need to do, the kind of money you need to invest in order to do the independent thing. And the first thing that I realized when I watched Russ's play-by-play of him trying to launch his album, market his album whilst being independent, I was like to myself, oh, this is why people get signed. This is what, because when people get signed, what you do is that you just send the music. Probably you don't even upload it. You might just send it to somebody, or they take it from your Lacy drive, and then they press the button. They do all the posting. They do everything else. But when you're independent, you have to do everything yourself. Which I mean, if you're Fumes, you have to sign up to certain platforms. You have to get approved. You have to set up the banking thing. You have to do a lot of things to kind of get yourself in a place where you can kind of set yourself up. But once you sign to a label, or they can kind of sort that for you. So I can understand why that could be the case. Now, the issue here is the assumption that he spent all his money on jewels. And it's also a negative assumption because it makes it seem like he wasted it. But if you're in hip-hop industry and stuff, as nonsensical as it must be to me and you, because we're not involved in the industry, buying all that stuff is a part of the brand, it's a part of your image, it's a part of your business. It's kind of essential. That's why everyone has a chain. That's why everyone has a fancy car. It kind of furthers or adds to the persona. It kind of shows off the lifestyle. It may attract some people to kind of work with you because they can see you're up and you're lit now. So that's all part of the thing that you do. So it wouldn't be that much of an issue if he did get that $2.5 million advance or pound advance and blew it on jury, because he'll make that back anyway. And it also isn't an issue if he got a bad deal, in my personal opinion, because I think nowadays with access to information, if you do sign a bad deal, just run through it. deliver all the albums you're meant to deliver, recoup as much as recoup everything so you're out of debt with the label, and then decide what you want to do next. I think everybody should probably, especially if you're a struggling artist, maybe try and sign a bad first deal. Obviously try and mitigate the fucking, losses or what it's going to do for you. But signing a bad first deal in order to get in advance, so you don't have to work in a bar, you don't have to work in a hotel, you don't have to do anything else, you can just focus on your music, is actually a good thing. And then later on down the line, you can kind of fix it. It's not the most ideal thing, but I get why people do it. Because not everybody has the access to information, and not everybody can put that information to action. And not everybody wants to do that. Some people want to get signed to labels. Some people want to live a life where they can get signed to a label and they can be the artist who just goes into the studio, records, and does what they're doing to do. Anyway, that was the beef, right? Initial beef. Fumez heard that and obviously wasn't happy about that. So Fumez got on social media and said the following. He says, firstly, big up Bouncer, which is not a big up, by the way. It's him being nice, but it's not a big up. He doesn't like him. Firstly, big up Bouncer for trying a new avenue and going into streaming. That aside, bro, you know zero facts, just what's been fed to you by your Dubai friend. Last of all, please, mention the many artists you said had to pay me to go unplugged. Let's hear it since you know. So essentially he's pouring cold water on the narrative that I think I saw on social media also, that is pay for play. And he's also saying that nothing that Bouncer said was based in fact. It's all conjecture, it's all rumors, and he's also not clearing it up because it's his own business, but none of it is true. Another tweet. You lot don't understand how much I hate having to clear up nonsense, especially when it's dragged out of thin air to sound cool, but generally feel like people are running wild with this now. So he's had enough. He wants to clear up all misinformation, and he wants to make it clear that whatever people think about his business isn't the truth. Only he knows his business. Another few tweets from Fumez. Somebody told him, so you still own Plugged In? Just asking as a fan, bro. He says, LOL, of course, bro. 100% ownership. Also own F28. Also own my music label, Relevant. Also own Studio with Fumez. Plus 2 more non-music related businesses. Hand on heart, nothing he said in that video was true. Not even the calculations. Which is brilliant, by the way. That's YouTube. That is content creation. Content creation, like what I do, is sitting in a chair and just yapping, waffling into thin air, into dark space, hoping people hear it and listen to you or watch you with zero evidence, with zero information, zero research or whatever. You just speak because you feel like it. That is content creation. So if Bouncer is chatting shit, it's perfect. I love it. I love it because that's what we all do. Anyway, so anyone can have an opinion, but to make it known that exactly that with zero proof, don't try and make out like you know what's what and you're disappointed in everyone's life and you have something to say. Teach the youth. That's where I have the problem. Exactly. That's why I also have a problem with Bouncer. I like Bouncer, but I feel like his point of view is skewed and also not fair. Just because he feels like people should be more money, should have a little bit more education in terms of how to deal with their money, doesn't mean everyone else wants to do that. Just because he feels like people should maybe not buy jewels and not buy Amiri jeans and not spend all their money on, financing cars and shit, doesn't mean people want to do that. If people decide that they want to use their record label money to ball out and do whatever, that's their prerogative. What I don't like with artists is nowadays is the artists crying when they get into some quote unquote slave deal or 360 and complaining it's all the label's fault. You don't have that ability anymore. There's too much information out there available for you to see, to hear, to access about labels and how negative they can be and about the potholes and about the things that they can do to you and about the scams and the contracts and the hustles and the finesses. You can't complain about it anymore. If you sign to a label, you know exactly what you're signing up for. We all have heard the horror stories. We have first-hand accounts from the biggest artists to the unknowns. There is no excuse. So I don't want to hear complaints. But if an artist wants to sign to a label because they're struggling and because they just want to get their dream across the line and they want to get that advance, I get it also. I don't begrudge them. Not everybody is cut out for the independent shit. And not everybody should do the independent shit. I think it's perfectly okay. So I think, Bouncer going on this thing of like everybody should be independent, that's not realistic. And it also doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. Next tweet here from Fumez. Oh, and no selective replies. But respectfully, I would never stand in the road and argue with a crackhead. So no, I will not go back and forth with a man who openly, by the way, fourth is the wrong one, but hey, we just let it slide, who openly said he enjoys being a crackhead. No disrespect, but that's not for me. And by crackhead, he's talking about Young Spray. Young Spray's had some bad things to say about Fumez. Essentially, Young Spray's criticism of Fumez is like, he's not from the road, he's never been to prison, so he shouldn't be making like drill music. I think that's basically his retort, which is fucking insane, but hey. Anyway, there's another reply here from Fumez where he kind of speaks a lot more on the issue. And he kind of, voices some of his issues that he has with Bouncer and what he had to say. So let's hear Fumez break down exactly why he's a little bit annoyed with Bouncer's on-air calculations, his idea that he wasted his money all on jewelry, and, just people pocket watching in general. I think this is a pretty decent little clip here. Fumez engineer calls Bouncer a capper.
This man done another video. Use man as the thumbnail and more clickbait and these dumb things. You know why man's annoyed? Because bro, you're just chatting shit at this point. You're just chatting shit, like, bro.
By the way, just not for nothing, but when I start getting paid, as much as I want to resist it and I want to do Invisalign, I think I might have to go to Colombia or Turkey and get my fucking Hollywood teeth, because Fumez has a real nice row, couple of rows of some fucking pearly whites. You get me? I'm gonna have to go and get my chitlin teeth and get those fucking things clipped in there, because his teeth are gleaming.
I beg, man. Still, who were the names of the artists that had to pay me to come on the Plugged In? But you want to go and do more videos? And then saying, we don't support each other, bro. It's you, bro. You're the part of the biggest problem, bro. You're not supporting no one, bro.
Exactly.
Sitting there telling man, oh, man sold his company for 2.5 M's. Sold all ownership. No, I didn't, bro. I own Plugged In. And you're sitting there and you're turning around and saying, oh, the deal structures, we should be getting 100 bags, £100 million deals. Bro, you're teaching the youths the wrong thing. You're teaching them the right thing. Bro, the least money.
That's a good point, actually, because think about it. If Central C got 20 million, how's Fumez getting 100? Like, music in the UK anyway, even in terms of streaming, I don't think you're going to get a streamer that's going to ever make as much as some of those streamers in the US made when they signed to Kick. We're just different, innit? It's just what works different. What you should be doing is trying to get some capital, some money for something, or some money for as little ownership as possible, and then use that money that you get to sort of run different plays or run different businesses, and then recoup, give that back, and then go again, You kind of using the label as a bank to kind of get a loan, that you probably wouldn't be able to get from a bank, That might be the best way to go about it. But this idea that Fumez could have got 100 mil, maybe himself, if he had the infrastructure and the knowledge, it still requires a lot. You don't just get 100 mil just sitting there collecting AdSense. That's 100 mil where you have to kind of invest in infrastructure, personnel, blah, 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 blah. And there's no guarantee that you get that anyway. So this Bouncer idea is a bit, But I also think, to be fair to Bouncer, this is not just aimed at Fumez. It's more so aimed at his frustration with what happened with D.Dan, his inability to kind of support himself or get the right representation, and just, the landscape of the UK music industry and not everybody being really, really rich as much as they probably can. That's kind of his issue that he has.
You can take from a deal means you recoup faster, means you're more viable as an artist or producer, 2 labels, 2 sign. Like, you know what, my man recoups. My man's got deals and he can and then you start getting your percentage, and then your percentage turnaround is wrong as well. Sign for £1 million and have to recoup 5 M's, bro. What kind of logic are you talking about, bro? Stop teaching the youth stupid stuff. I don't know what was happening when you was managing artists and what deals you got then. The man's got proper lawyers, bro. My deal, I've never had to recoup 5 times my fucking. What kind of nonsense, bro? Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, stop talking, please, bro. Like, it's annoying because you don't know what you're talking about. You're just trying to sound smart, bro. It's stupid. I know man shouldn't say it. I know man will tell me Fumez, you shouldn't reply.
It's so funny because bless Bouncer, his heart's in the right place. Bouncer's heart is in the right place. He is trying to spit game, and I do like the fact that he's very open with stuff, and it seems like he's the type of person you can approach on the street and have a little bit of a powwow with. He doesn't seem like, because a lot of UK people in the industry, especially the music industry, are very uppity. They're on a bit of a high horse. They kind of look down on people. I feel like Bouncer's not like that. He's super chill. He comes across really safe. But in this regard, I would side more with Fumez, because I think some of the stuff that Bouncer was saying, it didn't come across like a, it came across like frustration. It came across, I wouldn't say even, maybe a little bit of bitterness, but it just wasn't based on any kind of fact. And if you're getting your information from somebody else that might know him and you're speaking as if it's a fact, it's like, you can't really say that, can you? But yeah, I did like what Fumez had to say here.
Oh, man, just teaching the youth the wrong thing. And that's where man has the biggest issue here. Like, you're spreading rumours. And it's rumours. Nothing's factual, bro. Like, nothing's factual. Even the calculations you done wasn't factual, bro. Because at the time, it wasn't that price for streams. Like, so you're wrong there as well. Like, every piece of information you said was wrong, bro. And you've gone and done another video trying to be smart. And you're telling people about all these investments and rare, but bro, you was managing these people. So what did you do with your money, bro? Because you was trading a second ago. So why aren't you trading no more, bro? Like, stop worrying about everyone else, bro. It's becoming weird. Like, it's weird, bro. I hear it, clickbait. Like, you're interested in other people's life, but bro, I beg you, stop mentioning my name, bro. It's not even like, oh, I hate man, I've got beef with man. It's nothing like that, bro. I just think it's weird, bro, because you're talking on stuff you don't know. You're not even asking. Like, this is where it gets, industry. Because I DM'd you, bro. You've ignored the DM and fuck it. You've turned around and you've turned around to your brethren that I know and told him you've seen the DM, but you don't want to open it in case it's verbal and that. I'm not sending man verbal, by the way. I just said to you, bro, why didn't you phone me first and proof check all the information you're putting out? But instead you just keep chatting nonsense. But then you've gone online and done more chatting, like we don't have each other's number, bro. That's weird. That's what I'm saying. The music industry is weird, and they want you to think they're the cool people that are not industry. That is the industry. They do weird stuff. They have phone numbers and they go online and do stupid shit instead and lie for clicks. And they don't know what they're talking about. It's not being proof checked.
He's right. Unfortunately, he's right. And again, probably both sides have a little bit of right in what they're saying. But it's just unfortunate how it's all played out. But I'm not going to lie. I'm going to side more with Fumez on this thing. I'm going to side more with Fumez because I think Bouncer's, outburst was mostly him just talking, what we all do on YouTube, just talking for the sake of talking. But he was trying to come across like he had, a lot more information, a lot more facts than he did. But I think the message still remains. The message still should be to artists, if you can get away with financing stuff for yourself and not signing basically, I guess the message should be for artists, try and resist the urge to sign as long as possible. The longer you can resist the urge to sign, the more you become valuable, right? The more your stock goes up and the more that you can demand different terms, favorable terms for yourself. But if you go into a negotiation needing these people, desperate for these people, you're going to get shitty terms and you're going to have to settle for whatever they're giving you. So it's probably beneficial to hold out for as long as you can. But I also understand people that don't. Because when you're an artist and you're having to work a regular job, there's nothing more soul destroying. There's nothing more soul destroying than chasing your dreams as an artist and then having to try and grind at this regular job thing that you fucking detest. There's nothing worse. So when somebody comes along and gives you an out, I understand why people want to take it. I get it. I totally fucking get it. So big up Fumez, big up Bouncer. Hopefully they all settle it. I don't think Fumez and Young Spray will settle anything, but hopefully this is not a big issue and they can kind of let bygones be bygones and, do what they need to do. But we need both of them in the scene. You get me? We need both of them in the scene. We need both of them in the scene. Continuing on. Big up Blood Clot RA. Big up Blood Clot RA. Resident Advisor dropped an opinion piece, a feature piece that I want to talk about. This is an opinion piece, so it's called as follows. Club culture missed a moment for change, but it's not too late. Club culture missed a moment for change, but it's not too late. 5 years on from lockdown, dance music is stuttering on its quest for self-improvement. The mood out there is flat. Renewing our optimism requires radical shift in thinking, argues Ed Gillette. So let's read this, courtesy of RA, and then off the back of this, we'll also check out the responses from people vis-a-vis the RA Instagram page, because RA, I think incorrectly removed the comments from the website, which I think were a huge part of the website. For me, that was how I discovered dance music, basically through RA, and that's how I discovered a community. That's how I also discovered different clubs. I got recommended different artists through the comment section, especially through the DJ poll. I feel like the DJ poll got a lot of criticism, but the best part about the DJ poll wasn't what RA voted as the number one. The best part was seeing the recommendations of other DJs from other commenters and users in the comments. That was the best part of it. You'd find like local heroes that you'd never heard of. This is also pre like Boiler Room, I think, and Whore, but it was so sick. And when they took it away, it kind of took away a bit of the vibe of the website, and it's kind of gone down since. I feel like maybe it's had a bit of a resurgence because recently they've been hiring a lot more people, which is always a sign that they're doing pretty well. But it's lost a lot of its sparkle because there's lack of discussion in the comments. But the comments have also been replaced by Instagram comments, kinda, because they post the articles or the subject matter kinda on Instagram, and then people can kind of leave their comments underneath that. So it kind of works the same way. So we'll go to the comments and see what people are saying. But let's read the article here. Dance music has always been, at its heart, a utopian art form. From Joe Smooth's Search for the Promised Land in 1987 to Letters to a Future Palestine compilation, where it is repeatedly drawn back to the dance floor by a fleeting glimpse it offers into some other world, better world. 5 years ago, that optimism was put in indefinite hold when the World Health Organization officially declared COVID-19 a pandemic. The ensuing half-decade of economic, political, cultural upheaval has left club culture's ideals more frayed than ever. One thing I could give myself a bit of a pat on the back for, I remember that I accurately predicted that it would last 5 years. Accurately. I think my wake-up call was when the clubs still closed down. I'm not going to lie. Because I was thinking to myself, hold on, if this is a virus that's airborne and shit, there's no way clubs are going to open anytime soon. And they're probably going to be the last thing to open. So we're looking at a good, and they're going to have to get a handle on people, try to convince people to wear masks, convince people not to leave their homes. It's going to take a while for this stuff to work out. So I remember actually predicting 5 years. And at the time when I said 5 years, a lot of people around me, especially friends, were like shocked. Like, no way, man. We're going to get this sorted in a year or two. It's like, nah, trust me. Trust me. Especially once they figure out that they can make money from this lockdown. You know, certain people with, you know, in power are going to exert their influence, and we're going to be locked down for a bit longer. And, you know, it was a horrible time. Horrible time. I think it was so bad that I don't have any real, like, strong memories of COVID. I'm not going to lie. There's a lot of things that I see online about the COVID era that I've permanently deleted from my head. I've kind of like fragmented. I've put it in a recycle bin and emptied because it was so distressing and so heartbreaking. And I'm not like an overly emotional guy like that. I tend to kind of bury my feelings deep down like a real man. But I can definitely say that period of COVID, especially the lockdown, like, man was depressed. Whatever depression is, I definitely had it during that time. Especially because I was, before COVID happened, like most people, I was always out, never not moving. And that was the first time I ever had like a pause, a break, you know, to kind of like take stock of what was going on, but by force. I didn't know what to do with myself. So I can only imagine what it must have been like for people that own clubs, people that, you know, own festivals, who are involved in anything to do with gathering of people. That must have been a super mindfuck to kind of have to navigate that shit. Some people didn't navigate it and they kind of went by the wayside, or their businesses went kaput. I can only think of what happened to people who moved to different countries to pursue their dream of a career in dance music or nightlife, essentially. And then it all got put on hold. Wild times. Continue. In truth, few of us have been afforded a chance to properly move on from the pandemic. The last 5 years have seen one of the greatest transfers of resources from the working class to the hyper wealthy since the invention of capitalism, deepening economic equality and social division. While the top tiers of the dance music industry have largely benefited from the post-lockdown boom in demand, the rest of the community has tried to face down these unprecedented challenges by clinging to systems built for a pre-pandemic world. Last month, an exasperated Instagram post from Manchester promoters Not Bad for a Girl explained that even when they sell out a venue, they barely break even. Wow, is that true? Okay, let's press that. To be fair, that makes sense. From the time that I used to promote nights out, and I don't know how it works out now, but when I used to do my own raves and my own parties, when you do them at a club, you can maybe decide to do it because I personally prefer free entry. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's because it's a bit safer. I don't know, but I always prefer the idea of being able to have a club night that's free entry, but then you have a door picker, so everyone can come in, but we have someone that can kind of filter through some of this, you know, some of the mongoloids, let's say, for lack of a better term. But I do know in clubs, you have two models. Either you could take money at the door or you could take money at the bar. I think some clubs even have both. But if you do a free thing, then you only take money at the bar. And when you take money at the bar, the percentage I think is like 10%, but it's only 10% after you clear a certain amount. So maybe the bar has a particular amount they have to clear first before you get your 10%. And mostly it's not going to be a lot. Most clubs are not open late enough for you to get a lot of money out of the bar, which is why people tend to go for tickets, because you can get a lot more from that. But also tickets, there's no guarantee you're going to sell them. So it's all up in the air. So a lot of nights out, a lot of festivals, you have to give these guys credit and you have to really support them, because a lot of these people aren't doing it for the money. They're literally doing it for the love, because they barely make money and sometimes they don't even break even. But the clout, the fucking love, the community, the fucking joy that you get from putting on an event is nothing can come close to it. It's stressful. You have to book people. You have to sort out fucking timelines, lineups and sets and stuff, set times. You have to, the flyer stuff, maybe book the venue, security, bar, blah, 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 blah. But once it's on and it's cracking, that feeling of seeing everybody gathering in a space that you kind of organize and put together is fucking phenomenal. That feeling that you get of seeing, like, especially when I used to do parties, I used to always kind of like, book a lot of like up and coming artists and stuff. Seeing people and giving people their first opportunity to DJ ever, and then you see them go on and become professionals, you see them go on and tour, you see them go on and do other things. It's fucking great. That feeling is so fucking amazing. Just even the feeling of giving your friends money. Like, if you work in the creative field, personally for me, I've always said that if you have friends that work in the creative field, you should always pay them. Like, if you got a friend that's an artist, if you got a friend that's a sculptor, if you got a friend that's a fucking carpenter, if you got a friend that's a painter, if you got a friend that's a model, whatever they do, you should pay them for their work. Don't pay them in drinks. Don't pay them in dinner. Nah, fuck that. Give them money, like actual money, cash. Here, thank you. I appreciate you. Maybe you can get away with not giving them their full rate, but of money is important. Like cash. Here's £100. Thank you for helping me. So it's always great to give your friends like 50 quid, 100 quid for a set, and know how much it means to them. And even that bit of money, giving it to them, it kind of makes you feel like a professional, right? Big up fucking Seth Godin, right? Big up Seth Godin. I've got a new book from him actually that I need to read, actually, called The Practice. But I think Seth Godin and a few other people have always said that the point that you can call yourself a professional is when someone pays you. So even if you're a photographer, someone pays you for wedding pictures and they give you £30, it doesn't matter. As soon as someone pays you for something, pays for your time or for your expertise, you are a professional. So that feeling is fucking incredible. But don't be confused. No one's getting into it for the money. The money's not really there. Unless you really scale and you start going, it's not really about money. It's about the vibes. It's about the legacy. It's about the fame. It's about the clout. It's about the community, whatever else. But it's not about the money, for sure, because from what I used to do back in the day, that money is non-existent, mate. If anything, you're spending more by putting it on. Anyway, let's see the post. This is from January. Oh, big up Not Bad for a Girl. I didn't see this, actually. This is from Not Bad for a Girl. Lots of thoughts over in the HQ this week. What are other struggles do grassroots promoters face? So this is this group called Not Bad for a Girl put together this slideshow on their Instagram. How to run a grassroots event in 2025. So they have to pay £1,500 for a headliner, £300 each for a support, $250 for venue fee, which is really low, by the way. That's lower than I expect. $250 for venue is a bit low, because I'd imagine if I wanted to book Fold is probably going to be like £1,000, I think. I don't think Fold will let you book that venue for £250. But anyway, regardless, $250 for venue, $150 for artwork, $150 for video photographer, and $150 for photographer. Total $2,800 to put on an event. God damn, that's a lot of money. $250, nearly $3,000 to put on a rave. Ay. 200 tickets at £15. The max revenue you can make is $3,000. So you basically make £200. Oh yeah, and you have to sell out, by the way, to make 200. You have to sell out. God, or you have to basically be close to selling out to break even. God almighty. Being a promoter now is much harder than it was back in the day. Because back in the day, even I think there's more of an appetite to supporting up and coming events, maybe. I think now you kind of do need to book a big headliner. You can't get away with just booking your friends. I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if you just book your friends and you can kind of run the event that way. I think you kind of need a star to kind of pull in the numbers. And then obviously have your friends kind of pad out the lineup and shit. But then if you do that, you still want to pay your friends. You don't want to let them pay for free. And I wouldn't really want to waste people's time like that. And I also think if you pay somebody, you can kind of demand more of their time. You can kind of be like, yeah, you have to get here for sound check at this time. Because you're paying them, they'll be there, you know? But if you're not paying somebody, demanding they come to sound check is a little bit cheeky, you know? Demanding they play for another hour is also a little bit cheeky. But if you pay them, you can kind of negotiate that a little bit more. But damn, big up Not Bad for a Girl. This is a really good resource. How can the best case sellout scenario leave grassroots promoters with just £200 to pay themselves and invest in grassroots events next event? Exactly. It's fucking crazy. You can't do it. Next slide. Is there a next slide here? Yeah, next slide. How can we be calling for more grassroots events when first-time promoters have to fork out a massive 2,800 non-refundable investment just to put their foot in the door? Where does this leave working class promoters and students? Ha! That's your first mistake, Not Bad for a Girl. There is no such thing as working class promoters nowadays. I think most, especially some of the ones in London, most of the people that are really popping are the ones that have, like, you know, they have some good money behind them. Whether the person has a good salary, whether or not they come from money, that's really the way to go. But I also think that's really sick. I'd do that. If I came from money, the first thing I would do is put on these events just for the fun of it. Like, that's what I'd waste my money on, like running an event every fucking month, as opposed to just splashing it out and going to random places. Because you could basically put $5,000 aside and put on the fucking sick rave every month and book your favorite artist. I would do that in a heartbeat. I would do that in a heartbeat, bro. That'd be fucking so fun to do, just for the fucking fun of it. But doing it as a working class promoter is rough, because then what? You're splitting that cost 2,800 between what? I don't know what the group is on Not Bad for a Girl. But let's imagine the group of Not Bad for a Girl is like, let's imagine it's 5 people. 5 people, you know, divided 2,800, that's £560 you're having to get from 5 people. Now, if you guys have ever, you know, organized a friend birthday, if you guys have ever organized a friend holiday, you know how hard it is to wrangle 3 people, 4 people. Imagine 5 trying to get £560 out of them to pay for a night or to book a venue. That's gonna take so much time and effort. So you might have to front it and then chase the money from your friend. It's just a whole hassle. It's a nightmare. So big up everybody that puts on events. You guys deserve all the respect. All the promoters that deserve all the fucking respect out there in the world. Where does this leave working class promoters and students? Don't book a headliner. Good luck selling tickets in today's climate. Exactly. Big up Not Bad for a Girl. Don't book a headliner. Book your friends. Okay. Now I don't have an event anymore. Book a bigger venue. With what investment and what audience to fill it? Exactly. Don't book videographers and photographers. How will you sell tickets to your next event without marketing material? Exactly. Something is fundamentally wrong, honestly. The expenses are just fucking crazy, man. Honestly, wow. Invest in the underground. Buy tickets to grassroots events. Care more about the vibe and less about the headliner. Pay for maximum ticket tiers. Reduce your artist fees to emerging promoters if you can. 2025 feels different. There's something in the air. Martha. That's very true. And I think one of the other things as well is, like, if you don't go to an event, this is like a little cheeky request, but don't request a refund, man. Don't request a refund. Either sell it to somebody, put it in the fucking, you know, RA fucking resale, or just take the hit. Take the hit like you're giving the, you know, the promoter a little bit of money to kind of keep on going. I've done that a bunch of times, and I'm unfortunately known for that. That's one of my fucking things that I do. I'll buy tickets for raves and not go because I'm a fucking idiot. But the amount of night service, tech couture, Inferno, what else rave? No, Adonis, because you can buy them ahead of time. There's so many raves, even fucking multi-sex that I've never been to. I think I bought a ticket for that once before. I never request a refund. I just take the hit. You know what I mean? It is what it is. But then, you know, you're kind of, you know, allowing the promoter to keep on going on for the next rave. But that's a little thing that can help. And of course, you know, buying up the merch and shit. But god damn it, bro. Big up Not Bad for a Girl. This is crazy. And whoever this person called Martha is. What an incredible breakdown. God almighty, bro. You spend 2,800 to put together an event with a headliner and 2 support acts, which isn't that much really. That's only 3 DJs playing. So most likely you might have one person playing for free. Maybe you're the promoter, just to kind of get the thing started. You spend nearly 3,000, 2,800, and if you sell out, you might make $3,000. Woo! Okay. Big up. Let's go back to the article. More recently, Los Angeles-based underground queer party collective Another Castle lost more than $4,000 on a single event in a small venue. Every month seems to bring news of another festival being forced to cancel. Labels press vinyl runs knowing that they're going to lose money. Most artists earn more than pennies from streaming services. Despite laudable progress on many club culture historic failings, social responsibilities, it feels like we're still reluctant to properly acknowledge the full implications of the ongoing stagnation. But what we have to accept is this new reality if we want to properly confront it. What good are clubs and festivals if the people who create them can't pay their bills? What use is Electronic Wonderland if none of us can afford to get in? Something is surely has to give. And it has to give from the government level. I think the fans are doing the most that they can do. I think the fans are doing the most they can do. The punters are doing the most they can do. They're buying tickets. They're going to events. They're buying merch if people make them. Every day, every weekend, I think I see someone wearing a fucking Teletech t-shirt. You know? People are wearing Boiler Room. Boiler Room have got a whole merch line that they do. They probably got an in-house designer. Big up the Boiler Room designer, by the way. You're fucking killing it, right? Everyone's fucking supporting, I feel like, nowadays. I'm going to talk about Fold in a minute. They just launched some merch too that they're doing. I think the fans are doing as much as they can. They're supporting their artists. They're supporting their promoters. Club Air, a really cool queer club night here in London that is on that Hackney Bridge location I haven't been to just yet, but it looks fucking sick. They put an event recently and that fucking killed. That looked fucking cool. You know? People support that. I think that sold out in like a minute, selling out. Recess Land, an event they do here in London too, mostly aimed at black folk and shit that play the hip hop, R&B, Afro swing and all that kind of shit. That Recess Land carnival thing, that sold out in fucking minutes. So I think the fans are doing what they can. Glastonbury sold out even before the lineup was dropped in November. So I think the fans are doing everything. They're buying the tickets, they're going to the events. Resale market has never been bigger. Tickets are always getting popped off on Ticket Swap. I want to go to Dremolin and fucking Stone Techno, for example. Stone Techno Festival is already sold out on the site. People are reselling stuff on tickets. So there's a demand. People are buying, they're selling, they're buying, they're selling, they're attending. I'm going to Berlin the end of April for my birthday little thing. So people are doing what they can do. They're investing the money, they're spending the money, they're buying drinks. I feel like nowadays, maybe I'm mistaken because of the group I kind of see out and about. But I feel like nowadays, the kids aren't really sneaking in drinks as much as we used to back in the day. I feel like back in the day, when I used to go to clubs, you'd be sneaking in fucking bottles of vodka and gin and fucking rum and shit. Beers. Like, you'd be sneaking shit in, like, so you don't have to spend money at the bar. But I think nowadays, kids don't care. They'll spend their money at the bar. So, the punters are doing everything. The problem is, on a governmental level, they're just not helping. They're not financing things, you know? They're not fucking, you know, putting certain things into place to protect the clubs. Invest in clubs, invest in nightlife, invest in grassroots promoting, all this sort of stuff. They're not doing it. So there's really nothing more the promoters or the artists or the fans can do. It's a bit unfair to ask the DJs to lower their booking fee. Because why? You know? It's not really the problem of the booking fee. It's like if they like, it's more to do with the infrastructure. It's more to do with the lack of venues that are available. The lack of venues, especially like sub 500 capacity, that can be available for a low enough price that could invite new people to come on board and try and put on a night. All those things are really important. But I think the fans are doing as much as they can. The artists are doing as much as they can. There's more DJs than ever. There's more star DJs than ever than before, I feel like, popping up all over the place. It feels like every other day I stumble across some new DJ that's got like 1.2 million followers and more, who I've never fucking heard of. So stars are being made. Fans are going fucking crazy. They're traveling the world to fucking support their favorite artists. That's the most that they can do. The government also needs to step in and help, but they don't, especially in the UK, because we're anti-fun. It continues. In 2018, sustainability professor Jem Bendel published a deep adaptation, a scientific paper that suggested that climate change is now unavoidable and would inevitably lead to a societal collapse in the short or medium term. Rather than trying to prevent this, Bendel argued we should be looking to adapt to it, find resilience in the shared values that we will survive climate breakdown, and relinquish what we can no longer carry, which has some validity to it, especially when you think about how we responded to COVID. I feel like the COVID situation, when people are trying to get to like zero COVID, I thought that was very stupid and very irresponsible and wasn't based in reality. We had to try and, manage it as best as possible, mitigate for disasters, help people that want to be helped. But the idea we could get to a zero COVID time was never and we haven't got to it anyway. So I feel like if that's an example of how to kind of adapt and kind of accept what's going on and kind of move around it, I think climate change probably needs to be another example too. But hey, what do I know? It increasingly feels like dance music is due a similar reckoning. If the industry's economic model is broken, at least for everyone bar superstars and corporations, then continued attempts to build something progressive on those foundations are always going to be futile. Utopian thinking in the truest sense of the word. Sooner or later, we're going to need to strip dance music back to its basic elements, a communal sensory experience based around community, body movement, amplified sound, and build it from the ground up. This means accepting and mourning the loss of opportunities and experiencing we value careers, physical spaces, and avenues for creative expression, whether they currently exist but can't be sustained or won't come to pass. If you're a venue scraping by at the subsistence level, or a DJ relying on 7 short-haul flights a week to maintain your European tour schedule, the thought of giving up these things you've worked hard for will undoubtedly be painful. But it can be really also freeing. By surrendering the inescapable, we find ourselves able to engage honestly in it and develop strategies worthy of genuine, lasting optimism. Huh? I don't see how that makes sense, to be fair. That doesn't make any sense. You want people to give up their careers, to limit them or to scale back the amount of touring that they do to do what? Is that to like limit climate change or something? Like, come on, bro. DJs scaling back their traveling won't do anything. Won't make the impact will be like marginal in terms of fucking CO2 and shit. Like, let's be real. What actually needs to happen again is, especially in England, there needs to be way more fairness when it comes to licensing. It needs to be less weighted on residents and more so to reach some sort of like, compromise that can kind of appease both parties because they both live in the same places, right? I still think gentrification by a large part is mostly kind of geared towards the residents, and it's a bit unfair, especially when residents come in after the clubs have opened. The clubs open, they do well, they support the local environment, community, they make that place popping. Suddenly investors, real estate, whatever, developers come in, they want to build, and the people that live there eventually want the clubs to close because it's getting too noisy, but then you only move there because it's popping, and it's only popping because of the clubs. So if that's unfair, it should always be favored to the clubs. But I'm also realistic and know that you can't just favor one thing or the other, so there has to be a compromise, be in the middle. Yeah, cool. Then there also needs to be more venues open that are between 500 to 200 or whatever capacity. We have too many venues that are like 1,000 plus. Too many of those type of venues, and not enough of those small grassroots venues where communities can kind of flourish and build from. They don't fucking exist. So that needs to also exist. Maybe some sort of tax break when it comes to people being self-employed and, register themselves as artists or DJs. That would also be beneficial. Maybe to keep some of the talent here so they don't all move to places like Portugal and Dubai and shit because they don't have to pay a lot more taxes and shit, whatever else it may be. The EU thing is also a bit of an issue, but we're probably never going to be back in the EU anytime soon. All those type of things are really important to kind of helping the scene flourish. But I don't see how DJs scaling back their touring schedule is going to help, in my personal opinion. But I could be wrong. Being overly didactic about specific solutions isn't likely to be helpful. But then neither is aimless pessimism. Most importantly, dance music requires a fundamental change in the mindset. One that applies equally to audiences, artists, promoters, venues and labels, journalists and everyone else invested in the survival. We each need to accept that things cannot go as they are and that collective action and whatever it looks like is urgently needed. But how does that look though? What do we do collectively right now to solve that? Because again, I don't think there's anything that could be done that the clubs aren't already doing. Like clubs, most of them have like some sort of night that allows local DJs to come and play, whether it's an open decks or whatever else it may be. That exists in most places. Most people that can't play in clubs are figuring it shit out and playing in forest raves, doing stuff in illegal places, hiring random places. co-opting other sort of spaces and turning them into clubs. People are doing what they can with the resources they have available. I don't think there's anything else that can be done from the scene things. I think it's more so governmental, personally. In many places, this shift in thinking is already underway. The last decade has seen positive steps taken in the dance music political potential and its ability to break down social barriers. But we need to take those conversations further, beyond the booth and dance or into the boardroom. Okay, cool. That I like. Or maybe to the House of Commons and shit. Right? Maybe these conversations that usually get relegated to like the green room when everyone's super high and think they can solve all the world's issues, or after parties or smoking areas, needs to be taken into spaces where change can actually be actioned. That I agree. As clubbers, we have the ability to influence the economy of it, but then that's why we have that nightlife task force, right? Before we had that fucking useless woman, Michelle Lammy, who did nothing but fucking steal a living. Big up her for being a city girl, but fuck her for stealing a living and not doing anything. But now we have the nightlife task force. That maybe can help. Maybe. You'd hope so. As clubbers, we have the ability to influence the economy of club culture by being more intentional and disciplined about where we're spending our time and money. The cost of living crisis has exacerbated pre-existing trends in the audience demand, with cash-conscious ravers drifting away from regular Saturday nights in their local club towards specific blowouts and destination venues or festivals. Saving up for a massive lineup might offer more bang for your buck, but also hollers out a dance music self-reliant middle tier, enriches these most commercial operators. As those underground operators struggle to stay afloat or go bankrupt, bigger competitors swoop in and seize more of the market, creating a self-perpetuating cycle. To be fair to this though, there is also a lack of creativity and lack of options when it comes to that middle market, lower market. It doesn't really exist. And obviously the reason why is because of this amazing fucking breakdown from Not Bad for a Girl UK. A lot of people like myself, I should be getting involved in putting in more events like I did in the past, but I don't do it because I don't want to blow 2,800 and then only make 200. And have to risk basically blowing all my money on a rave that might not do well. Because the issue isn't that money, the issue is the lack of opportunity after. Because if you don't do well, like if you only sell 10 tickets, you're not getting that venue again. That club isn't going to trust you to put on another party. That's how it works. It's not personal, it's business. So you run the risk of like putting on an event, you know you're not going to make money, but then if you also don't make money, you know you won't have a chance of putting a rave there again, which is a brutal pill to take. So I understand why people are a bit hesitant, you know? I get it. Because there's not really much incentive behind all this shit. But I could be wrong. Let's go back. We rightly mourn. So basically more people like myself need to go back and do the type of events from 500 capacity down below, essentially. Will it happen? I don't know. We rightly mourn the continued decline of independent venues without necessarily connecting this back to our own actions. Challenging ourselves to rethink our priorities as consumers is hard, particularly when we're all feeling the financial pinch, but it's clear that the only alternative to too great at risk. The only alternative poses too great of a risk. The dance music industry could benefit from probing itself with the same level of rigor in summer 2022, when East London's Dawson Superstore announced a unionisation agreement with its staff, the first queer venue in the capital to do so. Organised labour and this hospitality industry have something of a rocky relationship, particularly in the US, with one queer venue in Chicago voted to unionize in the spring of 2023. It triggered a chain of events that contributed to its closure 6 months later. I'm not sure if unionization is going to work for the clubs. I don't know. Again, like we need more clubs to be open. We need clubs. We need more clubs to be open later. We need a relaxing of the licensing laws. We need less favor being weighted toward property developers and shit. You know, cost of living needs to go down. You know, maybe some tax exemptions for people that do music and shit. Those are things that should be kind of get pushed. Unionization, I don't know what that does. I don't know. The fair treatment of the workers feels like an obvious test of dance music's supposedly egalitarian principles. Hammer DJs currently ask for guarantees that staff serving drinks during their set are being paid properly. What? The club scene is crumbling and you're worried about this. Like, in this country, most people are on a minimum wage that work bar staff jobs, right? Or on a 0-hour contract. But surely, I don't think we have an issue with staff at these clubs. I could be wrong. I don't run a club. I don't have a club. Maybe there's an issue with finding good staff, but I don't think there's an issue with finding staff. I don't think that's the main issue. The main issue is probably the lack of clubs that are available. The lack of options. Even if you're a promoter, you're kind of forced to only choose between 5 clubs here in London. You know, unless you want to find your own space, you can kind of kit out, which is also going to be more money. But if you want to find a ready-made place, you can kind of plug and play. You're only looking at like 5 to 10 places, maybe 5 max. And they're all booked up, probably a year in advance. Let's say Fold and Colour Factory for being an example. They're probably Venue MOT, Corsica Studios. They're probably booked up, you know, a year in advance. So like, I think we need to worry about that more than the staff. If they're making a fair way, it's like, what? Anyway, let's continue. How many DJs Oxford guarantees the staff serving the drinks for the day? How many of us buy our tickets with that in mind? What wider changes might become possible if we started doing so? Yeah, I think they're missing the mark on that one completely. But hey, changing the tide isn't easy. The recent example with A-Slice shows that when given a precise opportunity to rebalance the income streams of a DJ and producers, the industry as a whole has failed to step up. If we want to survive, we have to embrace the real world in action. Online posturing and half measures simply won't cut anymore. But that's the thing. Real world action also is real world realization. The world isn't what you want it to be, it's how it is. I could have told you from the beginning ASAS wasn't going to work out, because that required what? Voluntarily DJs put in their track list, and then from there they give away a certain percentage of money. That, come on, no one's going to do that. The only way that would work is if it was implemented from like the music side of things, like the music industry side of things, the DSP side of things. If that was something that kind of, you had to just, you opt into automatically because you had a DJ account. But having to ask DJs to go on another platform to feed the money back to the scene, that was never going to work. That was never going to work. It would only work if A-Side was integrated into like a Spotify, into Apple Music. That would have made more sense, because people only look after themselves. Makes sense. We already saw a little bit of that selfishness and whatever else it may be when it came to, I don't want to say it was selfishness, it's just people want to look after themselves, and that's not really a bad thing. When the Playgraves happened, right? When DJs that were supposedly some of the highest paid ones, like the fucking Blondishes of this world and stuff, that was still playing through the pandemic because they thought they were essential workers and stuff, and they were still playing in like third world countries because those places were a little bit more lax with their restrictions. So you saw a lot of the like self-centeredness, the selfishness that came from them, because you'd imagine people like that could afford to maybe take a break, but they didn't, and they, you know, they went where the money was available to them, which is a whole nother story. But with that being the case, I think it's shown that, you know, if there's a bag available and it requires them making what we deem to be a bad choice, they'll take it because there's a bag available. So to expect DJs to kind of sign up voluntarily to A-Slice and, you know, have a long-term future, as noble as it is, and as much as I love DVS, you know, that shit was never going to last long term. It's a shame, but, you know, it was never going to last. Plenty of individuals, groups, and communities are already using the club as a mechanism for social change. From rave reparations, you know, fuck off. Black Ops in the sound system, but there's space for many of us to be doing more. If you're a fan of grime or drill, this might mean what? Shooting somebody, killing somebody in a club, bringing a fucking shank to a club. That's how you should do something. If you're a fan of grime and drill, bring a kitchen knife to the club. Wave in the air like you just don't care. This might mean showing up outside of court next time the police try to criminalize lyrics. Perhaps you might join your local refugee support group funded by veterans from the 90s to free party scene. Whatever path each of us take, the real value of a club culture's ideals doesn't lie in how it makes us feel, even in the art they inspire, but the material changes that they help catalyze the world of romance. Yeah, whatever. This extends to our engagement with the systems of political power and the voices we appoint to represent our interests. Over the last decade, the concept of nighttime economy has helped to cultivate political support for dance music, but the framing of that debate within the primarily economic lens and its defense of the pre-existing political orthodoxies has left it unable to meaningfully tackle the full scale of the problem. All the night czars in the world can't stop clubs closing if the political system they're part of isn't willing to challenge the underlying status quo. No, they can. Night czars can, but they need to be empowered to do so. In Amy Lammy's defense, as useless as I think Amy Lammy was, as much of a wage thief as Amy Lammy was, to give her a little bit of credit and to give her a bit of a bly, she also wasn't empowered to do much change. Her job was essentially just to be a mouthpiece, to say things that sounded good, but she didn't really have any power to do anything, really, to give her some credit or to give her a bit of, you know, benefit of the doubt. So if night czars are empowered, then obviously they can affect change. If they aren't, they're just going to collect a check like Amy Lammy did. Simple. Because night czars in other countries, they seem to be able to affect change. The night czars in fucking Amsterdam do pretty well. The whatever nighttime economy they have over there in Amsterdam, in Berlin, seems to be able to do something. Seems to affect change. Seems to have a voice. Those things are important, but you know, the government, like I said, we're just anti-fun. We ban everything. Remember back in the day, yo-yos became popular in school. They banned them the next day. We love to ban fun things. We're really very quick to drum up policies and laws to ban fun things. We're very, very slow at reversing those things, or you know, reviewing those things and seeing whether or not that was a smart thing or not. We don't like to do that. In the UK, the Nighttime Industry Association has done plenty of good work. CAP, I'll call up. I don't know about that. But also consequently skewed its efforts towards those at the top. When lockdown was first announced, their immediate reaction wasn't to try and help any workers or artists, but to demand mortgage holidays for corporate landlords. Exactly. In Berlin, the city's club commission responded to the pandemic by launching United We Stand, a platform for live streaming and fundraising, eventually involving dozens of cities, raising more than 1.5 million euros. I didn't even know that. Rah, really? United We Stand raised more than 1.5 million euros. Amazing. While commendable, it also relied on fans putting their hands in their pockets rather than addressing the industry's own economic imbalances and early foreshadowing of the post-COVID inequalities they see today. What's wrong with that though? If the fans do put money in their pocket and want to help, that's a good thing, no? It also shows a proof of concept to the government. They have fans who are willing to put their money where their mouth is and support the things that they fucking love and enjoy. I don't think that's a bad thing at all. While commendable, it also relied on putting money in the pockets. When ravers marched in London in July 2021 to demand the reopening of late night venues, the lack of strategic demands, coalition buildings with other activist groups, or the plans to maintain political momentum saw the long-term potential of that galvanizing movement squandered. But encouragingly, new initiatives are forming. Free the Night, a campaign group based in Northern Ireland, has made a deliberate decision not to talk about the nighttime economy at all. Instead, campaigning for cultural communities at night. I like that. Cultural and communities at night. I like that. A small detail that reflects on a fundamental different approach. If dance music's current collection of political figureheads, industry lobbyists don't have the answers, the urgency of the current moment should inspire for us to find new ones. As for the club itself, accepting the limits of deep too much. Anyway, let's go to the bottom. Embracing the rebirth of transformatic aesthetic in let release of dance floor into something shockingly new, it cycles a loss and reconnection of the potential to truer, more resonant experience of 2025. Chaos-centered creation, lockdown and reconstruction, a build-up leading to another drop. The pattern becomes familiar, even reassuring once you surrender to it. I don't know, it sounds kind of black-pilled and negative, I'm not going to lie. I was expecting a lot more hope from RA, but I guess the climate we're in at the moment is, so I guess they're responding in jest. But it doesn't sound like the most optimistic thing in the world. It sounds very very negative. But I understand why, because the scene is kind of negative, especially here in the UK, especially here in London. So let's hear what some of the comments have to say. Big up everybody in the stream chat that's locked in. I appreciate you. Big up, who's that? Radio Shaman AZ. Why are you only comedy guy capable of covering sports? Why is comedy so soy? Why? Big up Radio Shaman. I don't know, man. I just do what I can do, man. I'm no one special. I just do what I can do. Big up Brian. The illegal warehouse raves were the best. Exactly. Agreed. Let's see what some have to say in the comments via RA. Let's see what they have to say on the RA page via the comments here. So the same article. What are some people saying here regarding this article? Let's see the comments. First person. When it comes to the alternative electronic music scene, I fear that capitalism has stripped away the underground of what was once us together, gathering in an abandoned warehouse to listen to strange sounds. Since the pandemic, something that used to keep the underground in the depths seems to have broken loose. And now we're all surfacing faster than I'd like. And this isn't nostalgia speaking. The problem is when a counterculture built and sustained by societal outcasts, marginalized communities reaches the surface, it turns into nothing more than a product of devoid of essence and devoid of soul. As a raver, DJ, and event organizer, I've watched the Brazilian scene, like so many other countercultures around the world, be reduced to a spreadsheet, a system that prioritizes headliners while disregarding local talent. That turns an entire community into an average ticket price that exploits and disrespects both of its attendees and its workers, all in the name of profit. I'm not saying we once lived in a socialist electronic music scene. I understand that the numbers need to add up in the end, but there was a time when the fundamental principles of truly underground scene guided everything we did. Now, a lot, very wordy, but very on point. But I also think this is also a bit unfair because I think there was a point in time, like when I read old interviews, I watch for old interviews, especially people like Dixon and shit. He would always say how important, how beneficial it was for him to have a residency in clubs. You don't hear that more often. You don't even hear clubs announcing their residents. You don't even hear clubs have resident nights. Doesn't happen often in a lot of clubs. So there's a lack of time, resources, and money put into investing into a local community and local scene and allowing people to learn, allowing people to build a fan base from a club. Everyone kind of has to have, like nowadays, I feel like to have a residency at a nightclub, you kind of have to have your own pre-built fan base. You kind of have to be a bit of a thing yourself. You can't just like build your name off of the club and sort of kind of, you know, kind of use each other in tandem to kind of grow. And over time, maybe you go from playing the Thursday resident night and then over time you get to play the Saturday or the Friday night, especially payday. That might be a good one. But there's a lack of that. And I also think the customers, the ravers, there's a lack of appetite for that also. I'm also included. I will sometimes go to a club when I see a very popular headliner playing, but if I see a certain night where I don't recognize any of the names, I won't go. But that also isn't good because maybe the night I don't recognize all the names, maybe that's a night where, you know, the residents are playing or the people that are underground or coming up are playing. And if you don't give those people a chance, if you don't, you know, go to those events or you don't support those type of events, then that means you're going to get way more headliner type events filled with the same old people, which is very uninspired and isn't good for the scene. And the people that need the support don't get it. And then what ends up happening? You end up having a weird scene where everyone's trying to like posture and get famous on social media and get the numbers so that they can justify, so that they can kind of, you know, be in a position where they can demand a spot in a certain club or in a certain festival lineup and shit. It's kind of weird and all over the place. So I feel like the blame can be spread across the board. But one thing I do like about the scene now is this new push of these promoters who are kind of, you know, pushing a lot of like LGBTQ queer ideals and representing those type of people. And for the most part, those type of events don't really have a glitzy, world shocking, whatever lineup. It's mostly full of friends, people they're supporting, who want to become artists, and they're sort of like, you know, they're sort of helping nurture their career through those events. Like look at How, for instance. A lot of people that play there are like friends and family who have kind of been known to by the organizers and the promoters who are then trying to, you know, help them through to navigate the industry. I think that's pretty cool. Another comment. What if big artists and big brands made a conscious effort to play for massive reduced fees to support the grassroots independent ecosystem instead of only playing for mega bucks and big venues? I don't think that's going to work too. I think that's dumb. I think that doesn't make any sense. Like, it's almost like telling Apple to sell their computers for cheaper. Why would they if they can sell them for more and people still buy them? Doesn't make any sense. People, you know, I don't blame DJs for asking for a lot of money. You ask for what you can get. If people are willing to pay for it, they're willing to pay for it. The problem for me is there's a lack of clubs or nightlife or scenes in general, even lineups, where they have a headliner that's supported by a lot of up-and-coming people or like residents. It's always a headliner with another headliner with another headliner and then one random person. But it's never like just, I think that's a better balance, because then you get somebody in, you pay them the big bucks, but then you have people in who are actually up and coming supporting those people. And you never know, for the benefit of them playing on the same lineup, maybe an agent or a booker is there, they see the other people and then people blow up. Like that DJ High story, for instance, that DJ High story where she's playing at fucking, what's that place called again? Ridley Road Market Bar. Big up Ridley Road Market Bar. I used to play there for a bit, but then I stopped because they stopped replying to my emails. Big up Ridley Road Market Bar. But DJ High story of playing Ridley Road Market Bar and going from that to being a world touring DJ, that doesn't exist anymore. It's not a common thing, and it should be more common. There should be way more stories like DJ High, where somebody played in a small bar, had a residence, had basically a regular night that they played, or plays a resident there every fucking weekend, and over time somebody recognized them, and then from there they got signed to agency, and then boom, suddenly now they're a big DJ. It doesn't happen because clubs can't quote unquote afford to play someone like that. They'd rather have somebody play every weekend, or rather have a different headline play every weekend, as opposed to supporting somebody local, which I think is dumb, because I think some clubs don't matter. Like a Ridley Road Market Bar, like people aren't going there for headlines. They're going there because it's a vibe. It might be in their local area. It's a good ambiance. They serve good drinks, especially some of the fucking slushy things that they do in there. Muy delicioso. So you can afford to just book residents. book fellow people in the community and then kind of, you know, let people kind of get to know them every week. That could be the best way. But what do I know? It'll be amazing to see RA support the need for grassroots levies on stadiums and arena shows. It would raise tens of millions for small independent promoters. Time for us to all start shouting loudly for this before it's too late. I'm not sure about that one, but hey. This is why RA is pleased to announce that they are selling algorithm bumps. Wonderful work, guys. Yeah, complaining about the scene and then selling algorithm bumps is a bit wild, isn't it? But hey, it's a scene, it's the industry that we're in, isn't it? You gotta get it how you gotta get it. Another person, I also think it's time to stop calling club culture but dance floor experience or dance floor culture experience. We're all still hanging on to an old world and once meant something magical but not anymore. Times have changed and people want authentic dance floor. It's not, that's not an old word. I think it was the same thing. Before the pandemic, I wanted the fucking authentic experience. After the pandemic, what's this guy talking about? Times have changed. People want authentic dance floor experiences in today's electronic music culture. And that can only be experienced when the curators, promoters, or venue owners, not by using the word club, LOL, are committed to delivering that experience. This is something I'm personally ready to adapt as a raver as well as a curator promoter. I don't agree, but I see where he's going. I see where he's going, but I don't fully agree. I think people's appetite for authentic experiences is still there, which is why some of the places that do a little bit more, and like I mentioned, Club Air, they sell out. They do a little bit more, they add a bit more for the experience, give you more bang for your buck, and people respond in tandem. So I think he's wrong here, but I could be wrong. Another person, TBH. Not sure RA has really led the charge here to be a thought leader after 5 years of the industry getting absolutely picked apart and sold off for parts, while independent artists lost even their chance to get a break from some publications at RA dropping their editorial. But go off. Yeah, true, kind of true, unfortunately. It's not really, it's kind of their fault because they're the only decent platform left. You know, them, Mixmag and DJ Mag. There's not really a lot. And basically, RA is a little bit more, you know, polished than Mixmag or DJ Mag. You know, maybe just optics-wise, but there's not a lot of platforms out there. So, by default, people probably put a lot more expectation on them because they're the only worthwhile one left around. Maybe we also need people to, you know, launch their own publications. Have other things that can, you know, maybe that might be the way to go about things, to kind of spread the load, for lack of a better term. Another person here says, we must press on and make community-driven club nights in smaller venues a staple of the club scene again. This is where the art of dance music exists. Exactly. We need more of them. And there's loads of DJs with money, loads of people and labels that can open clubs and they don't. I get it's really expensive, but the people that are complaining that have the resources and the funds to affect the change don't do it. And the fans that just want to experience the fun aren't doing it. So we're in a bit of an impasse, you know what I mean? We're at a bit of an impasse, it's a Mexican standoff. No one's doing anything. Everyone's just shouting and barking, myself included, but no one's really putting their money where their mouth is because we do need those venues. But again, I understand people don't do it because if you do launch it, will you get a license? That's a fucking roll of a dice. Will your club get shut down? Roll of a dice. Will some fucking, you know, property developer start fucking opening up a co-working space or a fucking new building block or some shitty fucking coffee shop next to you and then suddenly you have to close? Who knows? Roll of the dice. Another person, a bunch of abstract nonsense from a platform that pushed the COVID agenda all along, now pretending to represent the industry in its best interest. LMFAO. Ooh, RA not getting a lot of good feedback from this post. Another person says, some of us never left the community grassroots and have always been adapting. Facts. This is my 40th year and I'm still out here doing events throughout all the changes. Maybe I'll do the talk or something about this. Okay, you do it. Go on, you do it. Go off, Lynette Kamala. Go off. Queen. More day parties as much as I want to hate it. Be out until 5 a.m. More day parties. As much as I want to hate it. Okay, cool. Yeah, there's too many day parties. There really is. Too many day parties. I understand why, because there's not a lot of, you know, you can't get late nights in most places, but the day party thing is too much. I'm tired. Please, no more. Mustafi. I fully get the point and will support that wholeheartedly, but I think as individuals, we all need to take a look inwards. not just the music scene, and start to change ourselves before we can consider making change externally. Exactly. As the great saying goes, sweep your own garden first, sweep your own lawn first, and then your neighbors will see you sweeping and sweep theirs too. But don't go around knocking on people's doors, telling them to sweep their lawn whilst yours has not been swept. And start to change ourselves before we consider making changes externally. The world is becoming a brutal, misguided place, and all of these distractions ain't helping. Make a little change, like checking up on your grandparents if they live on their own, and get involved in a charity from a human perspective as just as an example. If we're happier with change in ourselves, then change externally just comes more naturally. Just a thought. Hey, just a thought, Mr. Mustafi. I just want to bump, man. I just want to bump. I just want to dance and rave. I want to sweat. I want to take my top off. I want to dance crazy. I want to see my favorite DJs up and close. I want to fucking blow air kisses at them. I want to meet strangers in the smoking area, add them on Instagram, exchange that little DM after the rave and then never speak to them again. I want to fucking queue up at a club at like Berghain for 17 hours. Hope I fucking get in. I want to worry about where I'm going to go pick up, where I'm going to go eat a drink. That's what I'm worried about. What I'm not worried about is all that shit. But big up Mustafi. Another person, maybe the fact that a lot of COVID stimulus financing went to platforms like Boiler Room and RA and not actual artists had an impact. Oh, now you're spitting. That's actually true. All of that money that they got from COVID, did that get funneled into grassroots events? Or did that go to fucking, what's that thing I went to with RA? They held these like community events around the world. I wonder if that was the reason why they had the money. They held these like community workshop things. That was funny, by the way. Big up everybody I met there. I'm sure some people are still out there. I went to one in London. I forgot. It might have been like Egg. I went to like a community like powwow thing. You signed up and you went to go sit down with people from RA and you had this like conversation about the scene. And I remember I was like talking really well about Dr. Rubenstein when I was there because I was in my Dr. Rubenstein phase. People look at me like a weirdo. Like, I don't, whatever about Dr. They'll talk about their own little small raves they put on. It was really funny. People were being very pretentious then. It was really funny. I was like, oh shit. These guys think I'm not cool. They're actually acting as if like I'm a dork or something. Or like I'm new in this thing because I'm shouting out Dr. Rubenstein. Big up. All right. Maybe post-lockdown, clubbing has felt more like a push and pull between holding onto the past and adapting to new realities. Rising costs, over-policing, commercialization have made it harder for underground spaces to thrive, but at the same time, we've also seen grassroots resilience, safer spaces, and a growing focus on sustainability. Exactly. It's actually people are responding, that's what I mean. No matter how shit it gets, no matter how negative you might get, no matter how black-pilled you may get, people still respond well. I love it. I love it now. The climate is super good, man. I feel like now. It's just the lack of clubs and options available. But I feel like the people behind it have good intentions and doing great things. But I could be wrong. But at the same time, we also have grassroots resilience. Maybe the real challenge here isn't just rebuilding what we lost, but imagining something better. Lots of food for thought here. Agreed. The answer probably won't come from a multi-million-dollar company like RA either. Hey, what the fuck is this? Time to adapt? To what? Your opinion? Come on, guys. You push that COVID agenda all the way, baby. So please cut the BS. We all know you love money. Another person. RA partnering with less big festivals and going back to the city it started would help. We're fighting for our lives out here. Good point. Good fucking point. When was the last time a DJ stayed put and played 6-hour set? A lot of wisdom here in the comments. Great to know that there are so many out there that see where the real issues are. We do what we can over here in Tokyo. We made the decision 12 years ago to make a free party specifically on a Thursday. It's a labor of love. Yeah, exactly. I want to do that actually. I might have to do that soon. What about the damage that grassroots event initiatives take when they practically forced to use RA's platform for visibility? How RA prioritizes events that use their ticketing system, or how an RA pick requested by RA employee, friend of the promoter, can turn the outcome of a city's night. What about featuring influencer DJs who capitalize on their physical image and the coolness of the underground without giving us anything back? For me, the adaptation you speak of comes from not using or reading RA ever again. Whoa! I think a lot of that stickers is it's a bit out of order to put all of that on RA. There are some finagle things going on there. especially with the RA picks and stuff, which you know, innit? So it's going to be friends of friends. That can be a little bit unfair. We just need more platforms. RA seems to be the only decent one. There needs to be more, you know? Unfortunately, it probably costs an arm and a leg to launch one of these type of platforms, which is why there's not a lot of viable alternative options out there. But if there was more, it would make it less important that you get featured on RA. But because RA is the only half decent one, it feels like they're the voice of the community, they're the voice of the scene, and what they say goes. And it's not really the case, you know? But hey, what do I know? What do I know? Big up RA regardless. Really good article. Recommend you go check it out. I know the comments and shit. I'll put the link to the Instagram post. You can read more of the comments yourself. And also I'll put a link to the RA article there so you can read that yourself too. Okie dokie. Moving on. Let's talk about Fold quickly. Big up Blood Clot Fold. Big up Blood Clot Fold. So Fold have recently announced the launch of some new merch pieces. One piece in particular is very long time coming, but they've announced two bits of merch. The first thing they've announced is a silk scarf, which is really cool looking. It kind of incorporates some of the graphic design language that they use for their flyers, which I think is really cool. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the artists they use for their graphic designs, for their artwork of their flyers in-house at at Fold, is the same one that they use for, I forgot what night it is, but some raves in Amsterdam. Because I remember when I check Amsterdam_rave subreddit from time to time, I do see some flyers that have the same graphic design elements that they use for Fold flyer artworks, which I think works really well. Because the good thing about their artwork, which is a bit of a brainy thing, you know, whatever to talk about, is that because it uses shapes and whatever else it may be, you don't need to have pictures of the artist. You don't need to rely on like good clear or high level images of fucking headshots and shit. You can just rely on the fucking coolness of the image itself, of the shapes, to get away with it. And it's obviously looks way more creative, colorful, whatever else it may be. So it's a nice silk scarf, kind of giving her Hermes, that's featured here. I think the image is really cool, of it kind of sprayed across the model's face and the wind blowing in opposite directions to kind of see the outline silhouette of the person wearing it. It looks really fucking cool in this image. And then the next item that's available that they've launched is a bag. As you know, Fold, when they first opened, they had a really cool bag that was very famous, very cult-like. It sold out instantly. I don't think they made many of it, to be completely honest, but it sold out when it did kind of get very popular. And it was a kind of a side bag. And if I'm not mistaken, it was kind of like a rectangular shape. It had like a really big webbing, a really big strap, that had Fold written across it, I think in like white font. And it was like their old logo, that kind of like weird font style. They don't use it anymore, but that was what it was on. And it's really hard to get hold of. I think I've seen people selling used ones on Vinted and Depop for a decent amount of money, but they weren't available again. They didn't make many more. I don't know why in particular, but they didn't make them. But now they're making some new bags. And this is it's less of a structured bag like the other one with compartments. It looks like an expandable bag. So whatever you put into it, it kind of takes the shape up of it. And this is what's available. So you've got a scarf and you've got the side bag. The only thing I'd say as a problem, personally, there's not a lot of product pictures. There's a lot of lookbooks and lifestyle, and you get to see the people wearing it. They look really cool. Like the strap itself looks really nice. I love the harness here, or the the clasp, the bit of hardware here used to close it and shit. I much prefer this logo. That Fold logo is the same one that they've got, I think, on the outside. That font is really cool. I love that it's tonal and not white. I feel like it won't stain as often. And I think also, depending on the light, you get the kind of sheen or pop up on the letters and stuff. So I do like the letters of it and everything else going on there. But I don't like the lack of product shots. I feel like there's more detailed shots of the scarf than there is of the bag, you know? And if you go on the website itself, you click the Fold crossbody bag, it's a bit dear for what it is, to be fair. It's an expandable bag crafted from durable ripstop nylon, which is a good material, I guess. Is it waterproof? Generation of Fold crossbody bag features an expandable design, giving you the more space whenever you may need it. Whether you are navigating dance floors for the city streets, the water-resistant zippers and multifunctional attachments of the bag is built to ensure functionality in all conditions. Okay, cool. So it's water-resistant zippers, water-resistant zippers, but it's not water-resistant outer. Isn't that kind of devoiding the point? Or is it good to have a water-resistant zip? because I'd imagine most of the water would get over on the surface. But then, you know, I don't know. Regardless, the shape is cool, but I don't like the lack of compartments, and I also don't like that there's not a lot of product shots to see the inside, you know? It says it features a ripstop nylon fabric, expandable shape, YKK zips, embroidered fold logo, printed webbing and lining, water resistant zip, and back pocket and dog clip attachment, which is also cool. But I don't like, what I don't like is the lack of, and this is the person that designed it and the lack of product shots, you know, of the inside, details of the zip, details of the strap. You can't really see much. These aren't really good product shots. There needs to be more. I guess that's a dog strap there. When you're walking your dog, you can have it construct to your bag, but I'd like a little bit more. I'm not too sure if that bit of the hardware, that clasp, is that plastic. I don't like that. Maybe if that's plastic, that's a bit of a concern. If it's a plastic clasp onto a metal or plastic D-ring, that isn't the best in terms of quality, but it does look really cool though, especially with a manable bag. I just would prefer it if it was the same as the first edition in terms of having the different compartments. But I don't know if maybe if you open it, it does have the compartments in it. But it does look really cool. My favorite bit is definitely the strap. The strap is definitely my favorite part of it. I can't really tell what it says here, down below here. It's kind of like a, what do you call it? Like a half, like a clam shape, I guess, like a half circle shape. And then it's got some hardware here. Not sure what this bit is here, actually, this metal bit, because you can't see it anywhere else in any other image. Yeah, that's the only thing I'd say as a complaint. Not the best product images, I'm not gonna lie. There's a lot more style and coolness here with this girl wearing the jeans and the belt and the top and shit, and they both look really cool and stuff, but there's not a lot of images of the actual bag itself. But I love it instead, in general. I feel like it's a long time coming. The second edition, I feel like the first edition obviously has a lot of cult status, but we need to see more. We need to see more of this from them. The price tag's a little bit dear for what it is. An expandable bag with not many compartments with a lot of plastic, you know, hardware pieces. £90 is a bit dear. It's a bit dear. But then I guess part of the reason you'd buy it is because you want to support Fold. You don't really care too much about the quality and you just want a bit of merch. You know what I mean? Do they sell t-shirts, by the way? Are there a lot of t-shirts? There's a lot of posters, but not t-shirts, right? So that's the thing as well, they should probably sell. Maybe a Fold team t-shirt would probably be quite cool. Or Fold family t-shirt, that would be pretty decent, but they don't. All they sell is posters, but not a lot of t-shirts, unfortunately. They don't even do memberships, I don't think, do they? Do they have a membership card? I don't think so, but you can buy a poster for every single unfold that's happened, every single print of an unfold, vinyls. That's the first edition bag. Oh, okay, you see, that's a bit hard to justify, isn't it? The first edition bag that was leather and had different compartments in it was £52. And then the second one that's made out of nylon is 90. Maybe that shows how the economy has changed. Oops. Let's get that fucking nipple out of the way. Yeah, that's a hard one to justify, I'm not gonna lie. Because this crossbody bag is legendary. That's a really nice one. This leather one with all the different compartments, got a zip compartment, snap front compartments there. It can be worn across your waist, it can be worn across your body. Really fucking cool bag, you know? And look, metal hardware pieces. Even if it is just, you know, it's not even fucking real silver or anything. It's still stainless steel, you know? Nice bit of webbing in it. Nice class, everything. But this was £52 and the other one is 92. I don't know, man. I don't know. Don't get me wrong, the logo and all this stuff and the white print is a bit much. It'll get stained very quickly. But I think it's hard to justify that being 52 and the other nylon one being 92, you know? I don't know about that one. That's the only problem. That's the only fucking problem. But at least they have something available there. So you can buy the scarf, the silks fold scarf for £70 on their website, and the crossbody bag is available for 90. I will of course add the link in the description so you can check out yourself. Big up Fold for making them anyway. Big up Fold for making them anyway. Also, I need to big up Tech Couture. Big up Bloodcut Tech Couture. Big up Night Service. Tech Couture's got a night on, actually, talking about Fold, happening, coming up very, very soon, actually, on the 11th of April, which I may actually go and check out because one of my favorite DJs, D.Dan, is playing. I also have always been curious to see Blasha and Allatt playing as well. They're very big here in the UK. I think they're from Manchester, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's where a lot of their love comes from, because I think they just do a lot of nights out there. So I really want to check out what they're like, but I've never had a chance to see them play. I think I missed out on seeing him playing Berghain a couple of times, but Blasha and Allatt playing, Carmen Electro, who I know from Horror, I think, watching her perform on Horror. You got D.Dan, who I'm a big fan of, Mac Declox, who I don't know, Melati, who's that? Lakeshi, River, and also someone called Tekra playing. So a great night there featuring some more people. Let's read the fucking bio, or the caption, sorry. It says, hot on the heels of the majestic 5th anniversary, Tech Couture returns for Friday 11th of April for their 2-room extravaganza. That's how big they're getting. Wow, oh yeah, true, sick. So that it's a 2-room rave, and it's from 11 to 10 a.m. in the morning. Okay, I'll definitely need to check this out. 8 artists renowned for serving up exactly the level of outrageousness that will all take the boost just under 3 weeks' time. The main room sees a mix of driving grooves, hypnotic psychedelica, and raw techno soundtracks of the night, whilst down the corridor in our steam room, the sassy behavior is ramped up, fever pitch, courtesy of 3 artists who are known about who know about this all too well. Joining Tech Couture were the following. Cool. Final release tickets are now very close to sell. So big up Tech Couture. They always put on really good raves, actually. I'm really infused and excited to go to this one when it eventually does happen. This is a London crew, big few nights coming. We're back in Fold for another double room extravaganza. Then they're off to Amsterdam. I think that's a real good mark of how good their raves are, if they're gonna be doing Nightside in Amsterdam, because they don't fucking play. Let's fucking press play on this particular clip, courtesy of Mark Galatsky. He's a fucking sick photographer, actually, and the videographer out there in the scene. Big up him. Nice. What else do we have here? Another clip. What's this from? Tekra is back at Tech Couture 11th for the 4th, and things are about to get steamy. So often Tekra is working behind the scenes, an integral part of nightlife here in London, both in Fold and beyond. So it's always exciting when she steps up behind the booth instead. Always playful and joyous. Okay, big up Tekra. Or Tekra. Yeah, big up Tikra, big up Tech Couture, big up Tech Couture. Check them out, Tech Couture _LDN. Cannot wait for that event when that eventually does happen. Cannot wait for that event when it does eventually happen. But again, it has to happen. Again, it has to happen. So, moving on up. What else I want to check about here? Bear with me a second as I get this up to load. Where is it? Oh, there we go. Cool. So I wanted to play this clip as well. This features Carl Cox. Big up blood clot Carl Cox. Bless his heart. You know, he's trying, but I think he's trying a lot of shit here. It says Carl Cox speaks on the downside of social media culture. He misses the days when artists were to put in the work and develop a strong base of supporters from their local scene. So Carl Cox is upset about social media and thinks people should go back to how it was before, in the 80s, in the 70s, in the 90s. You get me? Oi, 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 oi. So this is Carl Cox saying what he has to say. Let's hear Carl Cox's opinion on why social media is a bad thing for up-and-coming artists.
social media, it's just made people so lazy now. You know, it's kind of like they don't want to get booked on the premise of working hard. You know, going from club to club, going from wine bar to wine bar, finding an event space, creating something for yourself, the music, the idea, your fan base, all of this which we used to do. We don't do any of that anymore. You know, it's all down to, again, you know, Instagram likes, TikTok likes, all this sort of stuff. You know, you make a record that appeals to a lot of people. They want to see you play that music, and then you know, either go to Tomorrowland, you can go to Time Warp, you can go to all these places, and that's where you're only going to see that person. Where it'd be nice to see that person in your local area and support that person at that particular time. All of it's gone in that way. You know, I still do play smaller venues, you know, because I really want people to still understand where I came from. But of course my public's waiting in all the big events as well, so I end up doing those too. I'll try and have a balance between all of that. But I did my hard work.
Hypocrisy.
I did my hard yards. I know what it's like to tread the boards. And with that, you know, try and leave some sort of idea that it never came easy by what I'm doing still today, on expectations on what my performance is still like in the end. But my art of performance was truly based on creating something from social media.
Bless Carl Cox, right? Bless Carl Cox. At least he's speaking. Someone of his level, speaking about any of these type of things in general is a good thing, even if there's not all the way correct, because at least it's bringing some attention to it. And he's speaking about this in the open and the sparking debate, and this debate may lead to some change in the end. But fundamentally, he's chatting shit. In my opinion, he's chatting absolute shit. Because yes, it would be beneficial if DJs had the ability to perform at different wine bars. What the fuck is a wine bar, by the way? You know, name me a wine bar in London that hires a fucking DJ. They don't, right? They just play fucking things off of Spotify. You know what I mean? Like, come on. Anyway, whatever. But it would be good if there was opportunity for DJs to perform in wine bars, aka I guess smaller venues, smaller clubs, and get their experience that way by playing in front of real life people, honing their craft, maybe, you know, cultivating a following, a fan base, and going from there. But unfortunately, the reason why they don't do that or they can't do that is because there's not many clubs available to play at. London being a good example. If you wanted to start your DJ career right now in London, you couldn't really just go and play in a club off the bat. Maybe you could, by luck, if you happen to email the right person. But if you wanted to start right now, the only way to start would be to maybe do your own rave, or to become popular enough on social media that you can then use those numbers to get you into certain clubs. Because you can say, hey, I've got this type of following. Here's my plays. Here's my following on social media. Here's my views on YouTube. Then you can use it to maybe bargain of how to play in certain places. But if you just want to start from scratch, it's pretty difficult too, because there's not a lot of clubs that will be able to accommodate you because of your level. And the ones that are available only want to book people at a certain level to make it make sense, because they have loads of fucking cost in terms of running the space. So the scene is a bit broken in that regard, which is why a lot of people are doing their own nights and trying to book their friends, but then offset their friends with headliners to make it work. A good example is what we saw with Tech Couture, right? With Tech Couture, I'd imagine, if I'm not mistaken, Tech Couture might know Blasha and Allatt. They might. I'm not too sure if they do. But they might know Blasha and Allatt. But likely, the headliners are Blasha, Allatt, Carmen, Electro, and D.Dan, who they don't know. And then the rest of the lineup are probably what you deem to be like friends and family. That's what you have to do now. You can't have these people, Mac Deklos, Melati, Lakshi, River, and Tikra. They can't all play their own lineup without Blasha, Carmen, Electro, and D.Dan. You kind of have to sell the lineup with those three headliners and then kind of fill it in with those other guys. And those other guys and girls and whatever else in between, they may be better or on the same level as these headliners, but they don't play because there's no space for them to play, no clubs that would give them a chance. They want to have the main headliners to guarantee money at the door, to guarantee fucking bar spend with drinks and shit and people taking lockers, whatever it may be. That's the annoying part of the scene at the moment. So you can't have people bouncing around. So people have to make it work by doing this like weird thing where they're like playing on fucking TikTok or on Instagram and making themselves social media famous and hoping they could use the social media fame to sort of get them in other rooms. Now the problem with that for the raver is that you get a bunch of people playing at levels that they probably don't deserve or aren't good enough to play at because they're just playing there based on numbers. You know, that's the problem. So you get, because no DJ, no matter how long you've been, no matter how short you've been in the scene, no matter if you've been playing for 6 months, if somebody offers you the opportunity to play in a club, you're gonna take it. But then when you go there, you might not be ready. So you're now playing at a place you're probably not ready to play at yet, but you're only playing there because you got numbers on social. But then the numbers on social actually equate real life people anyway. I don't know if they do. But you are, and then you go and play, you don't make a good impression, you clear the dance floor, people start complaining in the comments, maybe you get DMs from people saying, oh, that was fucking shit, don't book he or she or they again, and then your career is fucking already over before it started. And you already got a bad reputation out there, which is hard to kind of fucking recover. So the issue is mostly lack of clubs, which again goes back to what I said before. Carl Cox is one of the biggest DJs to come out of the scene and to come out of England. He's probably, you know, again, not to count his pockets, but I'd imagine he's probably okay for money. Why does he open his own club? Why doesn't he open a grassroots club somewhere, maybe where he's from, maybe where he lives, that DJs could play at, that could maybe offer that option for DJs to go and play from place to place? That maybe had a night that could maybe focus on highlighting people coming up and shit. That's also an option, but they don't do that. So people like myself that don't really have much power or influence complain and shout and complain. People like Carl Cox who are in the industry, legends, made all the money, superstars, they complain, but they don't do nothing. The government, especially in the UK, the anti-fund, they don't give a shit, they don't do nothing. So we're a bit of an impasse. Everyone's just shouting. Me, myself included. But no one's actually doing anything, you know? So the ones that are doing something are the DJs trying to, you know, play games and live stream and do TikTok because they want to make it. I get it. I don't bemoan over doing so because the industry has changed. So he's a bit detached from reality. There are no wine bars anymore. If he means wine bar in terms of capacity, there's not a lot of places like 200 capacity max clubs where people can hone their craft. It doesn't exist. So people have to get out of the mud. They have to do what DJ AG is doing and play out in the street, basically DJ busking. They have to maybe send 100 fucking mixes over to clubs, hope somebody opens it. They have to maybe set up their own nights, but then have to invest all their fucking paycheck from their job to do the night. Like, it's a bit of a madness, but people are doing what they can with the resources that are available. I don't think it's fair to like say, oh yeah, they're not doing enough. They're not working hard. No, they're working harder, in my opinion. They're working way harder because doing all that stuff on social media is a fucking nightmare. Trust me, I know. Like, it's a lot of work to clip yourself, to record certain things, get it in a particular focal frame, put it out on social, the right caption, hashtags, put some money behind the spend, record constantly, do live streams, upload mixes on SoundCloud, send fucking proposals over to clubs, try and get booked. Like, it's a bit of a ball ache. And it all comes down to numbers, really. It's not really how good you are. Do you have the numbers to back up your chat? Yes or no? If you don't, you're not playing. Because there's not a lot of clubs available, and the ones that are available need to make the money. So Carl Cox, unfortunately, is chatting shit here, but I do appreciate that at least he's talking about this sort of stuff, hopefully. And again, in his very grand, it looks like a palace he lives in. I love the backdrop. Not a lot of wine bars, bro. That house you're in probably has 10 wine bars in it, you know? Like, big up blood clot Carl Cox. Big up blood clot man like Carly Coxey. You gotta love Carly Coxey. You gotta love bloody Carly Coxey. Okie dokie. Let's move on. So I need to put this down here, and I need to put this other window up because I need to talk about some hype beastie things regarding hype beast. Let's talk about hype beast a bit. So big up hype beast. Let's talk about some streetwear news. The first thing I want to talk about is this regarding VEJA. VEJA and Dope Street Market Ginza unveil hand-stitched pairs by Sashiko Gals. I feel like I've seen more VEJA shoes, the vegan fucking sneakers, around, especially in London, than ever before. People love this brand. Me personally, I think the shoes look fucking ugly as fuck, but people fucking love VEJAs, and I think mostly because it's, you know, they purport to be vegan and shit. Sustainable, environmentally friendly, all this malarkey. But I just don't like how they look. But this particular model, I don't mind. I don't mind this particular model because it kind of reminds you of a Samba. It kind of reminds you of a Nike FC. It's got a very kind of sleek, minimal, thin kind of silhouette. And I also like the particular model because it's got this really cool embroidered stitch pattern all over it, which looks really, really cool as well. So let's read the article. This is courtesy of Hype Beast. It says French footwear label VEJA has partnered with Dover Street Market to unveil the special capsule of one-of-a-kind pairs hand-stitched by Sashiko Gals, a group of artisans specializing in customization, repairing garments, and use traditional methods. 10 limited edition pairs of the VEJA's new Panenka will be sold. Oh, is that what it's called? Panenka. That's a good point, because Panenka, isn't that the way you take a penalty? So it's kind of rooted in football, I'm assuming. That's a really cool model. I like that. That's one of my favorite models I've seen for them so far. Will be sold exclusively at Dover Street Market Tokyo outpost next week. The body of the shoe, which draws inspiration from the vintage football trainers, is imbued with a craft-forward character through an additional Sashiko mode of repair, dating back as early as the 8th century. The method of reinforcing used garments was developed as a uniquely Japanese aesthetic manifesto in meticulous shapes and different thread colors, based in Otsushi within the Iwata prefect. The Sashiko Girls comprise a group of women in their 40s and 80s who are highly skilled in the Asian art form. That's really cool, man. Part of VEJA's Clean, Repair and Collect initiative. That's really fun. Let's actually see the video. I want to see the video of what it actually looks like when they put these things together, because this looks really fucking cool. VEJA and the Sashiko Girls. So that's the shoe. That's them stitching it. Okay, cool, with the different materials on the top. So they're literally stitching them on the top of the shoe. Okay, that's with New Balance. And then the other, and then I guess the VEJA ones, they probably stitch it on the outside in the same way too. That's pretty fucking cool. Must take a fucking ages to fucking do that shit though. But it looks really fucking cool. They literally put the garments on the outside, stitched them, and then cut away the excess, I'm assuming. Wow, really, really, really cool. Really, really, really cool. So those will be available to purchase. Those will be available to purchase if you already know where to purchase them. Big up Hypebeast. Big up Hypebeast on that one. The next post here, courtesy of Hypebeast, the following. New fucking awesome Adidas Stan Smiths. You know how much of a big fan of fucking awesome I am. Big fan of Jason Deal. So I love these in straight off the bat. I love the crinkled leather upper. There's also a really cool patent leather tab on the back of the heel. I love the addition of the fucking awesome logo as a badge on the side of the shoe instead of the where the sign, where the usually I think there's a little text here that says Stan Smith. Stan Smith don't usually have stripes on it. Usually have imperfect stripes. No perfect stripes. No Stan Smith logo. Just a badge that says fucking awesome here on the side, which is a really cool little look there. And of course, there you got the patent leather heel tab. And then you got the fucking awesome badge on the side and this kind of crinkled leather effect on the upper. Really nice model. And also kind of lends back to Jason Deal style. If you know anything about Jason Deal, you know he loves a good badge on a jacket, on a jumper. He's always fucking adorned and covered in badges, so that looks really cool. And just a sleek profile of the Stan Smith would work really cool too, with the kind of aesthetic that Jason Deal kind of goes with when it comes to his skate shoes. So this looks really, really cool. I love these. Love these, love these, love these. I'll definitely wear them. And this is also due to drop next week, or they dropped already, I think, this week. 26 actually today. Years after their first collaboration with Stan Smith, fucking awesome. Adidas Originals reprising the skate brand's version of the classic shoe. Latest iterations of fucking awesome. Stan Smith relies on the monochromatic black design from the uppers, laces, and soles. The cracked leather upper gives it a pair of a warning look. Yeah, I'd imagine as well. If you wear these, the crinkle will be even more pronounced, isn't it? This crackle, that's really cool, especially if you're skating them. So it's already got the cracked effect. You're skating them and you get this really interesting effects on the upper. While all black sneakers may be humorously stigmatized by Air Force One memes, the monochromatic color treatment is seeing in new life in current zeitgeist, arriving as a stealthy, often elevated wardrobe essential. The all black trend could be partial and driven by the burgeoning loafer trend taking over the industry and leading casual footwear purveyors to release their own loafer inspired silhouettes. But yeah, brilliant shoe. Big up fucking awesome. Available now, probably to purchase on their website, so check that out. Adidas Stan Smith and fucking awesome. Very, very, very nice mock up there. The next story here features a New Balance made in USA 1997 in a light mushroom color. I love the shape of the 997 personally for me. Very, very sleek. Very chunky in a way, but also has that sleek appeal. Most New Balances I feel like suffer from a little bit of that membrane, that little back heel shove at the back there, but I like how they're kind of flat towards the back here. I love how they kind of point down here towards the front. Kind of feels like a race car or a jet or something. And this particular mock-up of it being this mushroom color with these different hues of browns. I love the cork addition here on the fucking lace, which really feels really cheeky and naughty. And I love that kind of colorway kind of peaks all the way to the bottom, almost as if this is all one unit, which is always kind of cool. And I think the addition of, I think the N is 3M, but this is a really fucking nice colorway. If I'm not mistaken, made in USA New Balances are usually made by the guy that does Emilion Dior, right? Teddy something, which is probably why the aesthetic and the color is so nice, because I feel like he fucking kills it with the colorways. Him and fucking the Kith guy and Joe Fresh Goods are fucking crazy when it comes to colorways, but this is really nice. So you got the nice mushroom colorway, different hues of browns, I guess, or khakis, and then you got a really nice pristine white midsole, mostly black outsole that really makes it look chunky, and that's just a nice vintage trainer sort of like shape. You understand now why a lot of, you know, footwear brands decide to copy people like New Balance, because they have so many great silhouettes and shapes that you possibly couldn't just invent yourself, you know. So you kind of have to kind of take what they have and make it work for what you do as well. Is that a bit of 3M there? Yeah, I like that. A little line of 3M here towards the heel tab, a very thin stripe there of 3M. That looks like a nubuck sort of effect here on the heel tab, which is nice too, with the embroidered New Balance written there, because I think over time that would be a nice little fraying and flayed there. There's a nice, oh, that's a foam tongue. So that tongue looks like it's leather or cork, but it's actually I guess a nubuck as well, in this sort of cork brown color that has a foam backing on it. I thought it was just lining in terms of foam. Okay, cool. I do like how they tie the laces. That's a nice little change that you don't really have to see that, which we don't get a lot in like product shots. They usually just tuck laces in there, but they give it a little bunny eye, the little bunny ears treatment. The only thing I would change is that I would actually tie the laces properly here. So, you know, usually it should be over, under, not under, over when you tie your shoes laces. That'd be the first thing, but I do appreciate them tying them there and make them look cool. I like the mesh there on the front of the toe box. Also, there's that cork brown sort of colorway tongue I was talking about earlier. Addition again of the inside. What's the inside? What's the insole say there at the back? New Balance. Okay, cool. Hopefully something else, but yeah, really, really cool. Again, I think most likely made by the ALD guy. If not, I'm mistaken, but let's see what they say in the blurb. It's available now for $285 US, by the way. They don't fucking sell this for cheap. New Balance has unveiled its latest made in USA release 997 in light mushroom mirage. A refined take on its iconic 997 silhouette, the first introduced in 991. This premium model blends soft suede with breathable mesh across the upper, distressing the understand like mushroom. So yeah, really nice shoe. Check it out if you're available. Check it out if you like that sort of stuff. We also have this courtesy of Hypebeast about the ASICS Taps, the urban research for a GEL-KAYANO 14 collaboration. As much as I love ASICS, I'm not gonna lie, or ASICS, I'm kind of getting tired of them a little bit. I feel like they're running this model, especially the GEL-KAYANO 14, into the ground. I feel like I see a different model, a different style, a different shape of this shoe like every fucking week. And I think recently, I must have saw some ad on my Instagram for them releasing these via like JD Sports and shit, if I'm not mistaken. I think so, because I think the guys that go JD Sports wouldn't buy some of the Larry ones that I would buy, but they're definitely gonna buy some, you know, for sure. They're not gonna not buy it. So it was kind of wild to see people going crazy for these, because I feel like they've kind of been overdone a little bit, but I could be wrong. It says here Essex and Urban Research have collaborated to introduce a special edition of the GEL-KAYANO 14 sneaker. Under the direction of CC is the founder, Hiromichi Yomoto. This reimagined model seemingly blends innovative design with cultural heritage. Okay, maybe because the guy's Japanese and wanting to, you know, humiliation stage. But let's go. The sneaker features a striking metallic upper, crafted from a mix of mesh and synthetic materials, showcasing Essex's signature interplay of textures and finishes. Subtle grey and black accents enhance the overall aesthetic, adding depth as well as contrast and voluminous design. Integrated with shock absorbing gel technology in the midsole, this updated model combines practicality with style, appealing to both modern lifestyles and nostalgic enthusiasts. So yeah, decent model. Urban Research, silver upper mostly. Midsole looks like is that a dark gray or navy, and it's like a navy blue outsole. So I think these will look way better in person. I also like the two-tone nature of the laces, where they've got this like blue ribbing or edge over them, which looks really fucking cool. Actually, the colorway is really nice. I'm not gonna lie, the mesh colorway is really nice. I take it back. The colorway is actually really fucking nice when you kind of focus in on it a lot. Not a lot of urban research branding on it though. Just if you just saw them, you'd think it's just a GR. I think anything I don't like. I want to say a bit of urban research branding or something, but doesn't seem to be a lot of that on here particularly. But not mad at it in the slightest. Go check out if you want. March 28th. So it's dropping tomorrow. So big up A6 and big up urban research. Let's move. Another look here of the New Balance Allerdale. A New Balance Allerdale in white. It's available also in a really nice brown colorway, which I really fucking like because it kind of looks like a smart, kind of looks like a New Balance version of a loafer or of a lace-up wingtip type of shoe. But this is really nice personally. I don't mind it. It's also a nice refreshing change from the regular New Balance silhouettes. So this is called the New Balance Allerdale. Following the highly anticipated release of the dark brown leather iteration made in the UK, Allerdale, the New Balance now unveils a fresh, refined take with a pristine white finish. The Allerdale or the Allerdale white features a premium tumbled leather upper, and what else is it? Delivering soft yet durable feel that exudes sophistications. So yeah, just a nice shoe. That's what it is. Just a nice fucking shoe, refreshing, not the fucking usual shit. You know what I mean? It's really nice. I'm mad at it in the slightest. So big up, blood clot. New Balance. And actually, let me check the shoe. Is that the sole tread? Okay, I like the sole tread too, by the way. I like the sole tread too. It almost looks like a crepe top on the outside, but then it's got this ribbing or these ridges and shit on the instep of it as well. What's that? Nice tumbled leather throughout. Oof. This is a lush shoe. I'm not gonna lie. This is really fucking nice. Tumbled leather all over it, or nice buttery soft leather. Let's say, for lack of a better term, everything is that main soft leather. These are probably gonna be a lot of money in it in terms of retail prices, and some nice laces as well, by the way. And that embroidered logo on the side. What's the retail like? $250 probably. This is really good leather on these shoes. Really fucking good leather. Yeah, okay. $250. Yeah, I knew it. $250 is the MSRP according to Hypebeast. But yeah, they look really nice. And there's also a brown pair, which looks like that, which is the one that's due to come out too. That brown pair is definitely the one. I think that might be the killer one actually. That brown pair is fucking sexy as fuck. So big up New Balance, big up the Allerdale, sorry. Big up New Balance, big up the Allerdale. That shoe's fucking sick. I'd wear it in a heartbeat. You know that. They know that. We all fucking know that. We all fucking know that. What else is going on here? Let's move on and also talk a little bit about JJJJound. Big up JJJJound. JJJJound have got a couple of collaborations out at the moment. Number one collaboration, sorry, a couple bits I need to cover. Number one, obviously, is the Padmore Barnes shoes. Padmore Barnes, if I'm not mistaken, weren't they like because I remember having Padmore Barnes Wallabies. They relaunched them one time. I think it was, I don't know what year this must have been, maybe pre-pandemic. I bought a pair of Wallabies, Padmore Barnes. I remember buying them vintage on eBay, but also bought a pair when they re-released them. I wish they would do more because I love the silhouette. So this is Padmore Barnes 4. So this is the 4th edition, I guess, of what they're doing here. Oh, it looks so fucking good. All white as well. The information, in collaboration with Padmore Barnes, JJJJound represents its first iteration of the iconic P204 hand-stitched moccasin shoe. Kilkenny-based shoemaking manufacturer Padmore Barnes has been synonymous with quality, but also taste-making design since its inception in 1934. So the brand signature remains unmatched, sustaining Padmore Barnes' time-honored commitment. Okay, so Padmore Barnes was a factory, a smaller one that made, I guess, high-quality shoes in small quantities. There probably was a time when Clarks and them worked together to make Wallabies, because I remember buying some. So there definitely was something. I just don't remember the lore, the history of it completely. The 2025 project continues to honor the brand's archetypal silhouette, first introduced in the 1960s, true to its pattern in the 1960s. The 204, sorry, the P204 original Padmore Barnes iconic style is thoughtfully pared down with its classic full moccasin construction in a beige colored suede. Oh, it's beige colors. I thought it was white. Okay, that's really nice suede. I love that Pantone color then. The shoe is further defined by its fully lined interior, finished with leather branded sock liner. Shoes are produced ethically. Sorry. The shoes are produced ethically and sustainably using Padmore Barnes traditional one plantation crepe rubber. Oh, they look so beautiful though. So it's like it looks like an all white, but it's meant to be beige allegedly. That looks all white to me. But anyways, regardless, Wallabies in that white colorway with the white leather laces, that crepe outsole, The only reason why I don't wear more wallabies is because I walk like a fucking bear, and I will, you know, thin out the sole of the wallabies quickly. And when I used to walk really badly, I'd make the wallabies have like an angle, you know, that kind of at the back, because you're walking always on the fucking edges of your feet. That's the only reason why I don't wear wallabies more often, but I should wear them because they're so fucking, such a good shoe. So fucking good. Because I remember having a brown pair, but this white pair is so nicely done. That crepe outsole is just, oh, gorgeous. I just wish they could make them more robust. Have them be soft and shit, but there's such a, what's that thing called? There's like a shelf life to wallabies. As quickly as the sole goes is when the shoe's over. But I don't know if you can re-sole wallabies. I don't know if that's the thing. It probably is, but I imagine it probably costs an arm and a leg to do so. There's also a leather pull tab at the back as well, which is really nice. And then you get the sock liner with the Padmore Barnes in it. Yep, I remember having this. Oh, that's nice. One foot's got JJJJound in gold foil embossed in it. Another one's got Padmore Barnes original embossed in gold foil too. That's really fucking cool. I'm not gonna lie. All the times I've seen that Padmore Barnes designed shoes on like the JJJJound site back in the day, it must be like a good, you know, full circle moment to be able to collaborate with them. And there's a picture of them from the top. Such a beautiful shape. Such a beautiful shape. I love these. I fucking love these. So big up Blood Clot, Padmore and Barnes. And then the next thing we got is their Spring 2025 collection next year I wanted to feature. So big up JJJJound for their Spring City 2025 collection. So much good shit here. Like legitimately so much good shit. I feel like their collections, their clothing is very underrated. Maybe it's because of the prices. But I feel like they do a lot of good shit when it comes to clothes, man. Jackets, jumpers, hoodies, basics, like they really fucking kill it, but they don't get the credit they deserve, maybe because of the pricing's too high. So it says JJJJound Spring City capsule explores the intersection of heritage workwear and modern refinement, balancing rugged functionality with elevated craftsmanship, designed for a seamless transition from winter to summer. This season's capsules focuses on utilitarian staples. At its core, the capsule leans into workwear heritage, featuring quilted jackets inspired by grocery store uniforms, durable cotton duck canvases, and grunge-era plaid. To complement utilitarian foundations, fine lambskin leather jacket, by emerging function, JJJJound Spring City capsule delivers a timeless, modern urbanite. But I think this is all fucking brilliant, personally. I know some people won't think it's brilliant. Can I see the pictures in big or no? It's not. Let me see it big. Oh, there you go. Finally. So I think this is all fucking hard as nails. So fucking good, man. Maybe the only thing that's not good about it is the usability of the fucking site to check all the pictures. Okay, cool. You can scroll down. So there's a really cool hoodie. I love those cargos there. I think they're double knee cargos. That bag is brilliant. The size of it. Only thing I don't like about bags people make nowadays, there's always this sort of like, maybe I need to do my own, because I feel like when I carry a bag like this, I don't want to always have it in my hand. It's going to be too full. So I want to have a little bit of, you know, ease my hand and be able to hold it across my shoulder or put it on across my body with a strap. But bags nowadays always have like a small hand to hold it with, handle or strap, or there's another handle to put it over your shoulder, which I feel like is a little bit GAY and hard to kind of hold, but there's never really a lot of cross bodies, you know? That's the only problem. So I would love that, but the shape is really nice. It's like a big bucket shape, almost looks like an IKEA bag. Oh, there's also those plastic rubbery gardening shoes I like as well. Oh, look at that leather jacket. Oh, a leather jacket with 2 double zips. It looks like a Coach version. No, a leather version of a Coach jacket. Fucking gorgeous. I also love the glasses. They've got here some pants as well with the seam on the front. There's also a nice black button-up shirt. Is that an Oxford? Yeah, I think that might be an Oxford. No, it's not. Just a regular. Maybe it's a linen shirt actually, which is a black linen shirt, I think. Oh, that looks good. Black linen shirt with the black linen pants with the Padmore Barnes wallabies and the black tote bag. Oh, I ain't mad at that, especially with the model choice. Very on point. You got a really nice quilted bomber jacket thing going on here, which I really like the look of also, with matching pants. Oh, and also the half cabs that are due to come out. That's a look, by the way. That's a look that I want to replicate straight away. Baggy pants across over the half cabs with a nice fucking dress shirt on, and that's actually a really good DJ outfit. I'm not gonna lie, that's a really good DJ outfit. You actually carry that bag to put all your fucking your records in and all your headphones and shit. That's a really good DJ outfit, I'm not gonna lie. A nice jumper here in almost like a wine color with raglan sleeves an interesting addition to the neck hole here. It's not like a webbing thing or elastic thing. It looks like it's almost like a seam. I quite like that actually. I don't mind how that finished there on the side, and the cut of it is also really nice. It kind of sits just on top of where the belt line will be, so you can have a bit of a shirt peeking out there at the bottom. The shorts are also really nice. Those shoes are really nice, by the way. I think they're like a garden type of thing. I forgot what they're called, but I remember seeing them on Hypebeast actually. Those shoes. No, there it is. It's this shoe. So JJJJound have done this. JJJJound have makes what's this called? Plasticana garden clogs. They're really nice, man. I'm not gonna lie. I'd actually wear them out. I know they're meant to be garden clogs, but I like these. Plasticana garden clogs. I guess they're made out of all plastic or PU, polyurethane of some regard, maybe. And then we've got the JJJJound embossing on the back. The clogs is made entirely of recycled. Oh, sorry, no, it's made of recycled hemp. Designed in a relaxed, loose-fitting heel, the vegan plastic derives its sepia color entirely from a material's naturally occurring sugars. For the collaboration, JJJJound is added a light touch with no other noticeable changes. Oh, so good, so fucking good. Continuing on, what else we got on the lookbook for spring 2025? A nice pinstripe button-up with sweatpants and purple half cabs. Ooh, I don't mind them. So they're gonna come out in purple and black with sweatpants of a straight hem as well. That same quilted jacket's available in the wine color too. I love those cargos. Those are really nice actually, those cargo pants. There's also a quarter zip anorak thing. That was pretty cool. Again with the half cabs. Oh, I need those half cabs, man. I need those half cabs so fucking bad. They're gonna be my de facto cycling shoe of choice, I think. And just walking around town and shit, or maybe a bit of skating too. There's a half zip as well, short sleeve, button up, also available. I think it looks like a linen shirt. I love the t-shirt. I love how high that neck hole is with the matching shorts. Again in purple. Great styling on this, by the way. There's a leather Couture jacket that also comes in brown. Double knee pants in green. Oof, this is hard, man. This stuff is really fucking good. Big up JJJJound. Oh, there's a JJJJound Public Possessions collaborations too. JJJJound PP image mix merch is also available. Long sleeve shirt with also the matching shoe. That's a really nice festival look, I'm not gonna lie. Might have to steal this for the festivals coming up. I love that long sleeve with some colorful shorts and some Vans and some white socks. There's also a rugby top also available, long sleeve with the nice watch and olive green shorts and the clogs. I don't know if this is a track jacket that also comes with a tracksuit. It looks really nice. I love the paneling obviously with the invisible zips as well there and the matching shorts again. There's also a full zip up hoodie with double zips on it with contrast stitching, overlock stitching over it. This is fucking beautiful, man. This is really fucking good. There's also a nice plaid shirt with some big jeans, more in the style of what the kids wear nowadays. But yeah, this whole thing is fucking fire, all fucking flames. I'm not sure when it's going to be available actually to purchase, but it's all fucking fire. Photography by who? Lola Kingsley. Big up Lola Kingsley. The styling is also on point. Loads of looks here that I will definitely replicate for this summer, especially for the festival season. Not sure when it's going to be available though. And there's also lastly a Public Possessions collaborations too, courtesy of JJJJound. That also looks pretty fucking sick. Big up Public Possessions. If you know, you know. Big up Public Possessions. There's also available a long sleeve and a cassette tape and various other materials they're saying here. So JJJJound, the Public Possessions have come together, present image mix collection, including image collection, cassette, established by DJs Marvin and Valentino. Public Possessions, a record label, clothing label, and a philosophy rooted in fine arts and contemporary culture, offering a unique space of artists to express themselves. Known for a 360 approach of creativity, Public Possessions curates live events, exhibitions, educational formats that push the boundaries, collaborations, and contemporary art museums. The partnership with JJJJound embraces the same spirit of exploration and blending music. So you got a mixtape here in cassette, which is also pretty kind of sick. Image mix. You've also got available a long sleeve top, which is really cool. I love the graphic on it, but they do really great artwork anyway in graphic design, Public Possessions. And there's also a bit of detail on the shirt and what else. Oh, it's it's not a t-shirt. It's like what's that material? Slim fit with threaded hem, shoulder paneling. Okay, cool. It's a different type of material. I thought it's just a regular cotton shirt, but it's not. It's almost like a jersey material that you'd wear. So I really don't mind that. But big up JJJJound, man. Great collaborations. I think that collection that I just shown you is fucking great. Not sure if it's actually available to purchase just yet. Let's see if I click new items. Let's see what's available. Okay, no, Spring City. I just saw it just there actually. I saw, yeah, okay. So it is available to purchase already. So you can purchase it already. How much is it available for? The shorts are 96. The quilted jacket is 350. Oof. Yo, they don't give away anything for free. The anorak is 340. The boxer briefs are 60. The hats are 100. That public possessions long sleeve shirt, sorry, or long sleeve is 155. The leather jacket that looks like a leather version of a Coach jacket is 1,300. Whee! Yo, Jound ain't giving away nothing for free, bro. You want to look cool? Pick up Justin Saunders, but that's really nice. Actually, I wonder if they seed anybody. I don't see people wearing a lot of Jound. I wonder if they seed people. Or maybe they're just, you know, fuck seeding, purchase it. That's lovely, isn't it? That is a fucking lovely fucking jacket, I'm not gonna lie. But I'm not sure if they actually do any type of seeding, but that looks really fucking cool. I ain't mad at that in the slightest. And then going back, what else do we have here? Got nice t-shirts. But yeah, really good stuff. Check it out. Spring City collection available. I'll put the link in the description so you can check it out. This quilted jacket is fucking fire. Maybe one of my favorite pieces actually in the whole thing. I think it also comes in a purple, but that's not that's available just yet. But they do have that one available, 350, all sizes. Really fucking nice. Very nicely done. Snap front, metal snap front buttons. Nice bit of quilting there. Oh, I love the little panel here. Oh, look at that. That's a nice little detail, isn't it? I love that little bit of panel. Gives it a little bit of stretch as well. It gives a nice little different effect there. I love that. Really fucking cool. Big up Jound. Big up Jound for always doing great things. For always doing great things. Anyways, that's it for me today. That is it from me. Thank you for tuning in to the Agostino Zinga Show episode number 892. It has been a pleasure to have your company. If you're listening to this show via the podcast apps, you'll be hearing my tune today. Will be from the one and other Playboi fucking Carti. Big up Blood Clot Playboi Carti. I'm going to be playing a song from the bonus Sorry for the Wait tape that come out with 4 extra tracks. The track that I'm going to be playing is called FOMDJ. Fuck on my DJ. You guys know how much I love DJs. You know how much I love fucking. So I love to fuck on my DJs, male or female. Big up my fucking DJs, male, female, or them in between. We're fucking on all y'all. But no, the song's fucking amazing. It's fucking great. I think it was recorded in like 2004 or 2003. So it's many eras of music away, but still feels fresh, still feels new. The music video is fucking incredible. Loads of lifestyle and vibes. Burberry Airy makes an appearance on it. Really recommend you check it out. That'll be playing in my song of the day. Those of you who want to see the random show, that'll be happening on later on tonight when I come back from the gym and shit. So about 11:30, 11:45 p.m. But I'll put up a schedule for that later so you can see that. But for everybody else tuning in live, I appreciate you. Make sure you like the stream. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Join and become a member. Also, that'd be greatly appreciated. Subscribe to the Patreon. Content coming on over there very soon. And I'll see the rest of you guys again later. But for now, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate every single one of you. And I'll see you again very, very soon. Take care. Peace. Peace.